applications, and then we will give consideration after we get through all of those. And I just want to introduce everybody here with us. My name is Andrew Spencer. I'll chair this meeting this evening, but we have, and I'll just go by first name if everybody is okay with that. We have Chris, Fran, Brian, Mary, and Casey as members of the Architectural Review Board. And then we will give consideration after we get through all of those. There seems to be an echo coming through, so does somebody have a speaker on? I'll chair this meeting this evening. Okay. So without any further ado, the first item on the agenda is the approval of the February 25th minutes. Did everybody have a chance to take a look at those from the board? I see Chris shaking his head yes. I did as well. Casey did. Mary is out. Brian, did you?
I was also out for that one.
I think what I would do then is to hear a motion to postpone approval of the February minutes until our next scheduled meeting, so we have enough people to approve those minutes.
So moved.
All right. Is everybody in favor of that? Say aye, please.
Aye.
Aye.
Beautiful. Okay, so we'll table the approval of those minutes until next month when we have Stuart, so we can get enough members of the board that was there that evening. Very good. For everybody in the audience, if you have something to say about the application, or if you need to chime back in again, please use the raised hand symbol on the Zoom meeting. It's located in different locations on different devices, but that's how we hear you again if you have more to say about your application. So I think we'll start. All old business is been tabled for this month, so we move immediately into new business. Is that correct, Jeff?
That's correct.
Okay, so we'll start right off with 3AR-1-20, 1835 Monroe Avenue, Hanlon Architects, here to present some facade alterations. Good evening. Serge, are you here to represent?
I think it's Doug.
No, who's?
Can you
Raise your hand if you're here to represent for Hanlon Architects.
Give me 1 second. All right, I think it's a dog, so I just unmuted him.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay, great. Sorry, I couldn't figure out how to raise my hand for the Zoom meeting. My name's Doug. I'm representing Hanlon Architects and Brian Maticcio for these exterior facade improvements to Brighton Commons on Monroe Avenue. Brian Maticcio is taking over the end space of this one tenant space to the southwest of Brighton Commons. It's in the back there. It's not facing Monroe Avenue. And he wants to do some exterior improvements as well as his interior improvements. So what you see here is a rendering of what the exterior will look like. And this is just to the back side of the building, almost facing Elmwood Avenue, you could say. So what we've got on here is we're raising up the parapet a little bit on these two sides that you can see here. We have a facade of concrete panels, this ultra high performance concrete panel that will be applied to the facade. And then you have some wood look aluminum as well that you can see there on the left side. In addition to some new glazing and modifying the overhang over the sidewalk there by the parking lot. So we have the wood look siding will also be underneath the overhang there, which is on the right side of the rendering. And I don't know, I had a material sheet. I'm not sure if you guys are able to get that. Oh, there we go. Perfect. So that calls out the different materials. The tactile concrete panel, not wood look aluminum siding in the maple color, and then some different paint colors that we have going on the back side of the building where it's not really seen all that much, but there's some siding and some brick. We're going to paint those to match what's going on the other side. So matching the tactile and then freshening up that side as well. So there's the elevations. So the top left image there is the site plan. And as you can see, we're taking the left side of that dog leg, you can see right there. So it's visible from Elmwood Avenue, not really so much Monroe Avenue. But the improvements are in that area. So
could you give a little explanation of the north facade for us and what's going on there, please?
Yep. So that facade is on it's like an alleyway running from the parking lot to Monroe Avenue. So it's the opposite side. Yeah, there we go. Yep. So it's that side. So there's some brick that is there, and then there's a diagonal siding that is there currently up at the top. And we're going to leave that be. It's a little bit hard to see, but in the photo, right where that tree is, there's a vertical wood element. So we're going to take the vertical pieces off, leave the brick and leave the siding and paint those. So what we'll be doing is we'll be painting the brick white and the siding up above will be painted gray to match the concrete panels that'll be on the other two facades, but no other alterations on that side, just for the tenant area itself.
And what is the color of the brick as you move further past that wooden portion, past the tenant? It appears in this photo. Is that white?
It's white with a tinge of yellow in it. I think yeah, maybe a little bit more on the yellow side. And the upper part is brown that matches the other sides of the facades currently.
All right. Could we go back? Could you go ahead and show the elevation page again, please, Jeff? Okay. And that's an existing door on the west elevation. That's an existing door. Nothing's occurring there.
Correct.
The new glazing in the center of the building. And what is the concrete facade panel? Is that the same material as the upper panel? Because I don't understand what that ledging below the window is. Can you just give a little description of what that is?
Oh, yes. That is also the concrete panel. So the grade drops down a little bit there. So there's a little bit that is exposed. I think it's concrete or brick now. So we would modify that to add in the tactile, which is the concrete panel. And that would be a darker color than what is shown on the rest of the elevation, which is shown in the rendering. There's that darker color. Yep. So that underneath those windows there are existing windows in those locations, but we'll be modifying and replacing those units. But yes, there's a darker tactile there, which is the concrete panel again. And it's basically where the parking spaces abut the building as it slopes down a little bit.
Okay. Okay, very good. What's the finish of the windows that is being proposed?
The frames are going to be just clear anodized aluminum. And we're going to try to match that with all the aluminum on the project. And the windows will be clear as well.
And are the piers underneath the facade, the gray facade, those are aluminum piers?
So there are some existing steel columns there. We're going to paint those to match the aluminum. And then where we have these corner posts coming down, we'll build that out a little bit. And that's where the concrete panels are going to extend down to the ground as well. So just on those edges.
Jeff, are there any other approvals that are necessary for this application to move forward?
I think they're going to need sign approval. I don't know if they need to go to planning board or not for this.
Okay. But setbacks and building heights and everything of that nature, no need for any type of variances?
No, not that I know of.
Okay. All right, very good. That's kind of the end of my questioning. So we'll start off. Fran, do you have any questions or comments?
I do, thank you. For the tactile concrete panel, what texture are you using?
We'll be going for a smooth texture.
Smooth? Okay.
Yeah, they have a variety of textures, but we'll be
Right.
smooth.
Okay. And then is there any lighting that you're gonna put on the building?
Aside from the signs themselves, no. There may be existing, we might have some lighting underneath the canopy if it's existing. I can't remember right now if there's any existing lighting under there, but mainly it'll be just that sign panel, those two signs itself that'll be lit.
Are they lit white or a color? Do you know?
I'm not sure. It'll be, I don't want to say for sure.
Sure.
But it'll either be, I could see it being either white or I believe, speaking for the client, I believe he has a blue sign on his other location. So it could be blue as well. But I believe we would aim for white.
Okay, thank you. That's all I have.
All right, thank you, Fran. Mary, do you have any questions?
Mary, you're muted.
Sorry, thanks, Jeff. Yes, I have a couple. Where you're painting the brick on the north side white, is there any brick with the existing on the Monroe Avenue side that you would see at the same time as the white brick that you're painting? First question.
If you're standing right at that corner of the building on Monroe Ave, you will see a little bit, but you really have to look down that alley to see it.
Right, so you'll see both the existing brick on the Monroe Avenue facades and the new white brick on that alley side.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
If you know exactly where to look, yep, you'll see it.
Now, the other one is kind of a comment, a question for our town staff. This commons was obviously designed as with a single design plan. And I just wanted to, I know if Stuart was here, that would be something that would be really important to him as well. This is completely divergent from the existing look of the Brighton Commons. So whether or not that's important to anybody else or not, I just want to point that out and ask our town staff, is this the first time that someone has deviated so from this? I mean, obviously, I don't see any other instances of it on there. I don't know how formal the standards are for Brighton Commons, be it for the detailing of the architecture or the signage, which is another issue which will come up eventually. We in the past we have kind of tried to comply with the existing conditions. So that was just a question I was throwing out there for everyone. And also maybe Ramsey, you have enough history to to know. Jeff might not.
Yeah, I would say, Mary, to answer your question, I don't think there's anything on the facade. Jeff and I will check the sign variances for the plaza to see if they have to be I think that's called, the font is pump, if I remember right. And if the variance is tied to that, they may need to go back to the zoning board to redo their sign variance. That's one thing that pops up because the signs all have the same consistent font.
Right, right. But the awning treatments and other things like that, that's not required of new tenants to adhere to.
No, it's not. If they come to the architectural review board for a review and approval.
Mary, if you remember, this came before us, I think, last year or the year before, and they changed the coloration of the building facade and put new awnings on.
Yes, I remember.
Yeah, okay. Okay, Mary, do you have anything else?
No, not for us to do publicly here now.
Okay, thank you. Brian, do you have any questions?
I think with the look of it and the terms of it being, excessively dissimilar to what's next to it, I think it's, in just looking at it, I think it looks great. And I think it's sort of similar to Mary's question in terms of how does that work with respect to the plaza and signage. My thought in just looking at this is you're almost treating that as a separate entity by redesigning the outside. So it really wouldn't fall under the purview of what's part of the plaza because it's not treated the same way at all. So that's just a thought that I had about it after Mary said something. So we can talk about that later, but
Yeah.
I don't have anything real concrete to ask, but yeah, I'm good.
Okay. Casey, do you have any questions?
Yeah, I was just looking for some clarification on what is happening, the view that we're looking at right now on the left side. So it looks like we are pushing out the wall and enclosing what is currently a walkway. Is that correct?
On the left side,
Where
that
it's a grade
there
slope.
is no walkway on the left side. Currently, there's a door there and it goes down to a lower level, but there is glass there currently. So there's almost like 2 layers of glass in the existing. Actually, if we go back to the plan, that might show it better.
Well, that was part of my question. The plan does show a door coming out, but the elevations don't. So I was a little also confused by that.
So there we are. So on the left-hand side, there's existing glass on the outside, which we would redo. And as you can see, there's a door with stairs leading down to the lower level on that left side of the plan, that bottom left side. And those open up onto that sidewalk, which you see from the parking lot. So there's no public sidewalk that will be going along that side of the building. So we'll be doing some interior modifications there to incorporate that better into the space. I believe previously it was used for display purposes, but now we'll be incorporating that fully into the space.
Okay, and then the plan, I guess I'm at the PDF we have, page 9. The door in that plan will not exist there. See the one between the stairs?
Yes, that will not exist there in that location, correct.
Okay. All right. Can you talk to us a little bit about how you chose the finishes and the colors, especially with such a contrast to the adjacent building?
Right. So we wanted to do something different. In speaking with the owner, he wanted more of a modern, clean look to brighten up that plaza to give it more of a clean break, and to get more of a focal point on that backside of the plaza, which if you go there now, it is awfully quiet at sometimes. We wanted to make it more of a showpiece for that part. The materials we've worked with in the past with the client to select some materials that he's liked and we've liked to use. So those kind of came from our previous working relationships, but trying to add some warmth with the wood, but also these concrete panels to make it a little bit more contemporary, and freshen up the building with the added glass and new treatment of that back corner.
If I may ask a question, just for clarification purposes, you said the owner, is it the owner of the plaza you're speaking of, or the owner of Mataccio Orthodontics?
Mataccio Orthodontics, yes. So the tenant in this case, not the owner of the building, correct.
And the owner's okay with has the owner seen these revisions and these proposals?
Yes, they have, and they are okay with these modifications.
Okay. I'm sorry, Casey, did you have anything further? I'm sorry.
I just want to know if when selecting especially I guess the wood aluminum, how does it relate to the adjacent buildings where we've got Core Life and some of the restaurants across the parking lot? Do you know if they match, are close, completely contrast?
I think it's more of a contrast with some of these other buildings. I believe there's some wood on these other buildings, but the goal is to make this one stand out from what's around it a little bit more than obviously the way it does now.
Okay. I have no other questions.
All right, great, thank you. Chris, do you have any questions?
Yeah, did you already explain, there seems to be a difference between the rendering that we're looking at right now and the elevation on the parking lot side with like the main entrance door. You see the wood that's shown and the opening is coming up higher on the south. Which of these is the appropriate or what you're asking us to approve?
So we would be looking for these elevations to be approved. The difference between that rendering and this version is, as you saw, it's that south elevation. Instead of having that one large concrete facade overhang extend over the entire tenant space, we broke it up a little bit more so that the overhang will still exist there. But instead of putting the concrete panels across the whole top, we'll be splitting up some of that space and putting the wood look aluminum up there. So what you see there is actually two different planes of the wood look aluminum. So what's on top is at the same plane as the concrete panel. What you see below, it's a little bit faded out, that's back at the building line where the tenant entries would be. So we're trying
that
to
gesture was meant to break up the mass of the concrete from the rendering. I don't know, can you flip back to the rendering real quick?
So as you can see, yeah, we had this one large expanse of the concrete panel, and on further review, we decided let's break it up a little bit more. Let's pull the frame in. So now instead of having 3 columns that are painted, 3 of the existing steel columns that are painted, you'll have one in the middle before another frame, and then you'll have one after that. So we added another concrete panel wrapped column in the middle of this and broke up the right side with the wood look aluminum.
So my other question has to do with the north facade where you wrap the concrete around to kind of complete the corner, as it were. And then we're painting the brick and the siding only in the area of this tenant. Is this intended to set any sort of precedence for what happens in the future for the rest of the plaza, or is this supposed to completely be independent and on its own?
We have talked with the building owner, the owner of Brighton Commons, about the idea of redoing the rest of the plaza in a similar style. But as of right now, we're just doing just this tenant area. So keeping it as just that tenant area and keeping it as a clean break from the rest of the plaza.
Did you mention what the soffit finish is under what is essentially the portico on the south?
I did not. We'll probably look to do something very simple, not the wood look aluminum. We might try to have it be an aluminum soffit to go with the frame that we have around the openings.
So it sounds like you haven't completely worked that out.
Correct. But something of these materials to be applied on that ceiling area, that soffit area.
Excuse me, it looks like David Hanlon has raised his hand. I don't know if you can bring him in, Jeff.
Yeah, thanks. I just wanted to add the comment about the owners of the plaza. I don't know if you can hear me.
We can.
Okay, so the owners of the plaza, they actually, just to clarify, they're very excited about this look. They're interested in having it go forward because right now they have no designs on what to do with their portion, and we don't want to tie this to theirs. But they like this a lot, and they have thought about how it would look on the rest of the plaza. So I just wanted to say that they have a positive outlook on it, obviously, because they're letting us go ahead. So that was it.
Thanks, Dave. Chris, did you have any more questions or comments?
No, I'm good for now. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Now I kind of open it up to the remainder of the board again. Anything further from anybody at this point in time? Raise your hand. Okay. Seeing none. Doug, do you have anything further that you want to provide for clarification purposes?
I do not. No.
Okay. Thank you. So what we will do is after we get through the remainder of the applications, we will come back and deliberate and come to a decision and our recommendations moving forward. Okay?
Okay.
All right. Thank you very much. All right, I think we can move on to our next application. And I have so many windows open, I don't know where it is here. Here we do. 3AR-2-20, 119 Westland Avenue, Design Works Architecture. Addition to the side and the rear of the home. Could you please give us a little background and your name?
Yep. I'm Serge. I work with Design Works Architecture. Chuck Smith is on the call as well. This is a small project, 100 square foot addition to the northwest corner of the home. This is the Rabbi Tulik is actually not on the call today. She couldn't be here. So we're representing her. We are adding a small addition to the, like I said, to the northwest corner, which basically joins the existing, what was a converted porch at one point. And we're proposing combining, actually re-roofing that existing porch so that the addition looks seamless. So it'll look like one large addition at the north side of the house, as opposed to differentiating the roofs. It uncomplicates the construction and allows us to add slightly more insulation with a slightly taller pitch. Currently, I believe it's about a 1.5 pitch, and we're going to go to 3. It'll actually align the pitch break with the existing roof as well. So I think it'll look cleaner, be a better look in general for the home.
Can you describe some of the materials you're going to be using on the home?
Yeah, so we're going to use the existing materials. I believe it's like a 4-inch vinyl that's on there now. Going to replicate that on the addition to continue match the roofing, which is an asphalt shingle. I have some pictures of the existing. I don't know if Jeff has shared those with you, but here you go. This is sort of the corner. You can see right here where the addition's going to go. It's going to come out to meet the home roughly where the existing electrical meter is with that wall.
Does anything have to happen to all the downspouts over there? Are you going to reroute those and take care of them?
Yeah, well, we're going to need to. We have where there's a deck coming out the back too, so we'll have to add a downspout location.
Okay. So the proposed deck is going to the right-hand side of where this addition is going, is what I see on the plan, correct?
The deck is going to be basically along the rear of the house, and it's going to connect to the addition. So it'll allow a covered entry into the home as well as an open deck for entertaining and having dinners and such. Currently there's a patio out back that extends past where the proposed deck would be. But the reason we're here today, I believe, is the altering of the roof on the existing north porch because of trying to create a seamless addition to the northwest corner. We're not changing the windows at the street elevation. We're adding one window into the new bathroom.
So is the porch not part of our purview, Jeff? With the new roof and the new columns and such?
It's at the rear of the home, so my understanding was the only thing would be the actual roof is the reason why we are at Architectural Review Board, because we're changing the existing elevation from the street.
I think that's correct. Because if it was just the porch, then it wouldn't be in for architecture review.
Okay, I'm just.
I was going to say, is there also a fence on that side?
Correct, there is.
There is, okay.
Yeah,
you've got like 42 inches in between the fence and the house?
It's a little over 3 feet. And so we have a letter from the neighbor approving the proposed project. It's really not going to change or impact the fence line at all. I mean, we actually have to go to a zoning board meeting next week because the side yard property line and the house are slightly not aligned. So we are about 1 inch or 2 into the non-conforming setback, which will hopefully resolve at that meeting. But the neighbor to the north knows this project is happening, has written a letter in support.
Okay, thanks.
All right, let's go ahead and open it up to the board. Fran, do you have any questions?
No, I don't. Thank you.
Mary?
No, I just wanted to say hi to Serge and Chuck. Hi, guys.
Hi, Mary.
Brian, do you have any other questions?
I'm good, thank you.
Casey, any questions from you?
No, I'm all set. Thank you.
Okay. Chris, anything?
No questions.
Okay. I don't think I have any further questions either. Serge, Chuck, you know the drill. We'll review this after we get through all the applications, and then you can call the office. If we are able to review everything prior to 11 o'clock tonight, we'll have a decision made on this application. Okay. Anything further to add from either of you?
Jeff, can I email you tomorrow to find out how this went?
Yep.
Okay. Thank you. Thanks, everybody.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Bye.
Yep. Thank you, everybody.
All right, great. Let's move on to the next, which I believe is 3R-3-20, which is 2821 Elmwood Avenue for an entry porch overhang. Is somebody representing this application? Please raise your hand.
Yes, my name. Raise my hand.
Well, you're good now. You're on.
Okay. All right.
Could you please explain what it is you're trying to do and some of the materials, etc., related to your project?
Sure. And so I'll speak to everything I have knowledge about. My architect doing the work. Basically, the simple this is we moved into our house last August, and the front of this relatively plain, it's colonial, and there it is.
He's cutting out, guys. Could you tell him he's cutting out? I'm only hearing every other word.
Ooh, I heard you say I was cutting out. You were cutting out during that time too, so I have a feeling our connections aren't that great. So I'll go back. The front of the house is relatively plain, and many of the houses on Elmwood or on the side street have nice porticos or little roof overhangs. Some are more elaborate than others, have pillars that go into the front concrete of the doorstep. Others fall back into the house with an arm at 45 degrees. So we intend to do with ours, keep it really simple, not extending too far into the yard. We want to keep it really inexpensive and just decorative in nature. That's the character.
Okay, could you please explain some of the materials that you're going to be using on this structure, what you'll be using for the ceiling, what you'll be using on the exterior that can be seen for this, and then the colorations of all of this material, please?
Sure. And so if all goes well, intention is that it's going to be made mostly out of wood, and that all the painted white match the white from the aluminum siding on the house. It ties in nicely. We don't want it to contrast at all with the white aluminum siding of the house. We'll use shingles that match the roof. So those will be the asphalt shingle that the previous owners were not to leave us a bunch of in the shed, and they look viable. And we intend to use those. There's enough. And I don't think there'll be any need to use any material other than wood. Possibly stuff speculating when I said metal bracing in some way, but mostly a wood structure.
Okay. What is the photograph that you're showing? It looks as if it's a dark area above the doorway on this particular finish. What are you intending to do on yours?
So right above the door, there's a half moon or an arc. We would want that to be white to match the shingle. I think the goal might be to leave the existing, right? I said shingle, I meant the existing aluminum siding strip. So if we go back to the picture of the front of our house, I don't know how much of that decorative part will be ripped off or just built around. And I know that we have only 3 courses of siding before the upper floor's ledge. So we want to make the pitch of the roof relatively gentle because it won't be very high peak. But I guess to answer your question, it'll be white, not dark.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, and I guess just I see the detailing of the particular photo that you provided for number 9 here was some of the gapping around the top of the doorway to where your support structure is for this overhang roof. I guess I would just comment that that seems a little busy, and marrying all that in together as one cohesive design, I believe would be far more preferable than having gaps and such. And I can't tell from your drawings what the intended nature of that the back portion of that support might be, because there will be a width to it. You call it a 4x4 diagonal support. Are you suggesting a similar application where you would have something vertical against the siding of the house and then come out with your 4x4 support? Or are you purely just putting in a 4x4 support? I hope you understood my question.
I listened as hard as I possibly could, probably the most intently I've listened to anybody in the past 4 months. And I didn't. I think you're talking about how the support's going to come out perpendicular to the house.
I guess what
I think your question was.
Just hold on just a second, Seth, and I'm going to see if
Sure.
Jeff, can you zoom out a little bit so we can see the right-hand portion of the drawing here? Nope. Might have to zoom.
Like that?
Yeah. So what I'm talking about is the end of the diagonal support as it touches the house itself.
Okay.
Okay. Are you going to treat anything along there with a vertical member similar to the photograph that you provided as a vertical 1 by something or 2 by something that runs vertically up to the top, to the underside of the roof?
Let's go back to that photo. And I know what you're asking now.
Correct. Are you going to do something like that?
Yeah, the goal, I think didn't quite care how decorative that support looked. We wanted to do something a little more simple, straight edges. So just instead of a curvy hypotenuse, a straight hypotenuse. But yes, it would run parallel to the house for what appears 2 feet. A contact point to
Okay, you broke up a little bit there, so it was hard to hear what you were saying.
So I think your question was, how would the supports look against our house? I think the goal is to have the supports look exactly like a 2x4 runs right along the side of the house, and there's a curvy decorative, we'll call it the hypotenuse, the diagonal support. We would not want it curvy. I think we wanted it relatively straight, simple, non-decorative.
Okay, understood. Okay, in the finish of the underside of the ceiling material, would that be just a beadboard style finish? Or is that vinyl? What do you think the material is for that?
So was there another picture that we provided?
No.
Or is that the only?
That's it.
Yeah, he said he was going to build arched like that. He didn't mention some of the internal supports he was going to build to keep that across framing of the interior part. But as far as what we would see, and I think what you're asking about is, yes, they wouldn't be vinyl, and it would be hand built.
Okay.
Just a quick comment. If you zoom in really far, it does seem to call out, I believe it says 3/8 by 4 beaded pine, I think.
Oh, there you go.
Before.
Okay. Got
At
it.
least beaded.
All right, let me open this up to the rest of the board here. Fran, do you have any questions, comments?
Just a clarification. The photo that you showed does have a very similar trim treatment around the door that yours has. But if I heard you correctly, were you saying you're not going to detail it that way? Or are you going to leave the trim on your door as it is and place this just like this is shown? I know I heard you say that the supports are different, but in regard to the door.
Okay, so that's a good question. From what I remember, that decorative above the door that looks to be maybe 8 inches of decorative topper to the top of the door sill. I think on our house it's bigger than that. Let me just quickly run to the front door and check that and get back to you. Be back in 10 seconds.
It is quite a bit taller. I'm just concerned, the reason for my questions earlier is I'm just concerned of how that finish is going to look with the 4x4 post coming back and attaching to the house, whether or not there's that vertical member that's on the house or not, just for the floor. Yeah, that was my question.
Yeah, I'm back.
Okay.
I know there's some conversation and I'll just give you an update on what I just looked at. So as you can see from this picture, there's it ends up being about 6 inches of additional treatment on top of that similar decorative treatment that you saw in the other picture.
Right.
That I think you bring up a great point. I'm not sure. I think we would want to move that or cut the corners of that to tie in the portico properly. It's a really good question. I think all that will be visually exposed. If we remove it, we'd have to replace it with aluminum siding. That hasn't been discussed yet. And if we do leave it, what would go away in order to keep arc the over? So I don't have answers for that. I hope the guy doing this work, Maddie, makes it look really nice. Maybe that's not the right mindset to have at this meeting.
Well, I think we'll ask some questions. We'll get some further input from you.
Sure, and as we talk through all this,
yeah, we'll talk through this stuff.
Every level of discussion more.
Yeah, we'll have a good discussion here. Hold on. So Fran, do you have any other questions about this?
And I just, also with the photo, the upper window looks pretty close to where this new peak will become. And I wanted to know where that sits in relation to this new structure, how close that is to the upper window. And
yeah, it's hard for us to determine what from the peak of the roof to the underside of that window, what's that dimension? That's what Fran is asking. Just to make sure it doesn't come in conflict with anything that's occurring on the horizontal siding underneath the window proper above the doorway. Fran, do you have anything else other than that?
No, I don't. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. Mary, do you have any questions?
Yeah, I'd just like to second what Fran was saying. You have a tight space between the door frame and the upper window. You showed us a photo of a pretty substantial roof structure. You're not going to be able to maintain that pitch and still achieve this. You're going to have a different type of brackets, which I'm fine with. However, this is kind of a vernacular federal detailing around the door, which is probably the most interesting thing about the whole facade. And I would be very concerned if that was at risk, and that the design of the portico, of the, I don't know what you call the overhang of the stoop, would have to work around that. That's what I'm concerned about, that something like that is going to be sacrificed because there's not enough effort put into the design to achieve what you want to, which is a reasonable thing, which is to cover your entryway. So it's the same thing that's already been voiced. And then while we're on that, we may as well, you know, throw the lighting in, because that looks like that's going to have to be reconceptualized. Obviously, that position won't be able to be maintained for the lighting fixtures, I don't think, based on what you've shown. So have you thought about where the lighting is going to go?
So we're going to lose those two lights,
Mhm.
and we're going to do new lighting inside the portico. So he already discussed the additional thing for running additional electric up through the portico. And I hope I'm using the right term, overhang. Well, I'm just going to say portico, even though it's probably not the right term. But he's running electricity up there so we can get nice soft lighting for that area. Ideally, the whole goal here is not to trash the front of our house. My wife wants to spend $4,000 or $5,000, make much nicer, much better, because she's really unhappy with the minimalist, you know, decoration that's there currently. Something I personally never would have been used, been all over it. It's the first thing you mentioned, the other 500 thing. So this is important to her, and we want to make it look as nice as possible. We're going to take a lot of your, I've been hearing some great comments, great questions, but I'm correlating that to me needing to go back to the contractor and say, hey, I want to further, I don't think that's more discussion around how to specifically accomplish all these things, not coming close to the windows, making the pitch. What are we doing with the back, drop, lighting, so all the stuff we want to get right. And I wish I had a better design planned out. The architect and contractor provided you guys need. This is my first time appearing in this forum, so I don't know if I had proper preparation to know to what level the design had to be finalized, or just what level of consideration needed to go into conforming and complying with, you know, what you guys determined.
Yeah, I think it's important for us to know, especially when it comes to architectural details that are, you know, typical of the neighborhood or something like that, if they're going to be changed or not just, well, we don't know if we're going to change it or not. So we kind of have to see what you're going to do. But that's all I have to say.
I didn't catch what you said. I want to understand it better. I'm sorry.
We just need to know exactly what you're going to do, because we can't make a determination. If you say you might keep the frieze above the door, or you might not, that makes it hard for us to make a decision. That's all. So we need a clear picture what you intend to do, how you intend to change it. And because you're adding something that's a little bit of a different style, more of a cottagey kind of a style to this house. And this house is a vernacular version of a different kind of style. So that's all.
Sure. It's a really good point.
Mary. Let's just, if we could, Seth, let's get through all the comments and see if we have any further comments for you. And then let's double back. Okay. Brian, do you have any?
Good.
Okay, thanks. Brian, do you have any questions?
Yeah, I had one relative to the sizing that we seem to be talking about. Is there a dimension of is there a vertical dimension for the roof? I see the horizontals at 84, but I don't see a vertical dimension. Is there an idea of what that would be?
Okay.
Should I go measure that quick? But I guess it'll only be an estimate because I don't have.
No, I
Oh, no, I
just asking the question because I didn't see it on there. So I think when we ask about, you know, you've got a 12 by 6 pitch here. Is it going to work under the window at the size that you're showing it? So I think all of that is relative. It's relative to the 4 by 4 diagonal posts that you have coming down. It's relative to everything else. So I just wanted to ask that question.
Yeah. Okay.
Good
All
one.
right. Anything else, Brian?
Nope.
Okay, great. Casey, do you have any questions?
No, actually, at this point, 3 of you have asked a lot, so you kind of hit all my concerns and questions. So I think we'll just talk about it later.
Okay. Chris, anything further to add? Any questions?
And my only questions regarding the diagonal brace and wondering if there's any other detailing around the house, the property that could influence that design. I mean, that's really basic in terms of a 4 by 4 post holding up the portico. In one of the photos, it looked like the carport was peeking out from around the house, and it had there, if you go to the top right photo and zoom in, you see the carport that's on the site plan was peeking out from behind the house. I didn't know if maybe some inspiration about how that was designed and detailed might be able to tie things together a little bit more. I mean, you know, obviously avoiding the tail wagging the dog, right? If the carport is something that is not going to be a permanent feature of the property, then you wouldn't want to do that. But to me, it just seems like there needs to be something a little bit more deliberate about the way that diagonal works. And I think that we've alluded to a trim when it comes into the house and potential conflicts with the existing detailing. So just wondering if there had been any other thinking along those lines.
Seth, do you have any response to any of those couple questions?
Yeah, really good thoughts. So yeah, the carport is peeking through there. It is very basic. I think it's 4 8 by 8. It's a basic roof bracing. There's no detail to it. So what you see in that picture, pretty much speculate as to what the rest looks like. The most carport. So I don't think there's any inspiration to gain that, except in its simplicity, we would want to keep the overhang in the front probably consistent and keep it pretty simple as well. As you can see, the rest of the house, it's pretty basic and pretty simple, and anything elaborate or decorative would really just be not in kind with the rest of the house. So I think the goal is to keep it really simple. Now, if we could Photoshop my neighbor's house out of the picture, that would be, I feel like we're struggling here because, it's the back of their house and we see a lot of that. So we're doing the best we can to make the front of our house look good with this portico. And that's another, I wouldn't say it's an objective factor here, but it's, a comment I want to make that we're trying to improve the facade and, consistent, like Chris was applying, but generally improve the look of every street.
Yeah, I don't think that's swaying any of my questions whatsoever, to be quite honest with you. I think what we're just trying to make sure of for you, as much as the rest of the community, is whatever you're putting on this house, that it fits the character and the style of your home. You don't want to put two different styles together, because then you have a bit of a mishmash, and then it will look, what do I want to say? I don't want to use the term bad, which I just used, but it's not going to feel correct. So the detailing of what it is you're putting on the house, if it's detailed so that it resembles something on the home or is reflective of the home, it's a better sell to say that was there when the house was first built. You want to put something there that says, yes, that's part of the home and it's always been part of the home. So that's why we're asking these questions. We're trying to get down to, have you given some other consideration to some of the other suggestions we may have made? Can I ask this question of you, Seth? What is your timing on getting this completed? What's your ultimate goal here?
So I mean, the goal has always been done it yesterday, and we're just behind schedule on doing this. Like I mentioned, it's priority to my wife. But we'd like to do it as soon as possible, but we aren't in a rush to do it wrong and have to do it twice. So I'm very much hearing everything you're saying. And I don't want it looking back. It would be rough, invest money in this and time and effort, and to have it come out looking like we tried too hard and had it not look good.
Right.
Okay. And to be honest with you, I haven't owned a house in a long time. You pick just what you want, and you have to go through that iteration of, well, who can do how much will it cost? Do we even know what we don't know? And how do we define what we want? So you look at pictures. There's honestly a beautiful version of what we want to do 2 streets over on Hampshire. And I didn't see it till I was running a couple weeks ago. And I thought, in preparation for this meeting, I should have additional pictures of it. But when you mentioned it looking like it originally did the house, whoever did it did a great job, because I don't believe it was part of the original house, and it looks awesome and it looks natural. Whoever did it just did it right. And I almost want to knock on their door and find out who did it, because I would want them to recreate that for mine.
Okay. Okay. Are there any other questions from the board at this time?
I don't have a question, but just a quick comment, if I may. Seth, if Google some images of federal style porticos.
Yes.
And I think maybe that'll give you some inspiration and help you see what would feel good with the front of your house. So.
Yes, I'd like to jump on the bandwagon with Fran again. I just quickly Googled federal style overhangs too, and some of them have flat roofs with posts. Some of them have supports that go straight into the house with a small detail to them, but they're in the right style. So without telling you how you should do it, I think there's some resources there. Contractor is going to go for the low hanging fruit. So if you don't have a designer, you kind of have to do that legwork yourself.
Okay, and I appreciate that insight, because you're probably understanding I don't do this every day, and I don't even know what I don't know. So it's really helpful to have that guidance. I'm currently Googling federal style.
Yeah, so Seth, I think we have a number of applications here this evening, and what we're going to do is we will go through all those applications. I think you've heard. We will discuss this at the end, and then provide some comments for you regarding your application, and then we'll go from there. Okay, we can't design it here this evening, but we may come back with a number of questions that we would like you to answer, which may also give you some guidance on what it is you're looking for when you start that search. Okay.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Thank you.
All right. All right. Hearing nothing, any more questions from the board, I think we'll move on to the next application then. Seth, thank you very, very much for your time. And you can call Jeff or email Jeff tomorrow with our decision on this, okay?
All right, great. Thank you again, guys. Thanks, everyone.
All right, thank you. Move forward to 3 AR-4-20, which is 11 Babcock Drive. Is there somebody here to represent this application?
Yes, I am.
Hi, good evening. Could you tell us a little bit about what it is you're proposing, please?
Yeah. My name's Courtney Hopkins, by the way. We're proposing a ranch house on Babcock Drive with a side load garage to tie in with the shared driveway that was already there. And we moved to Brighton 4 years ago, and we're looking to stay in Brighton, but we need a single story, so we're wanting to build.
Okay. Can you walk us through some of the architectural components that you have and some of the materials that you're going to be using on your home, please?
Sure. We have the table height for the stone on the front, or the water table height, I guess, and that will go all the way around the front door. On the front porch, we have some cedar. We wanted to add kind of a rustic element and have some cedar posts out front along with the archway for the front porch. And then we really like the look of kind of a contrast of a home, but having it all kind of flow, and have batten board and siding along with some cedar shake up top, and a little bit of metal roofing underneath those, just to give it an extra look and have it tie in really nice. I can do the colors too if you want, or what else do you want right now?
Yeah, no, please. We'd like to know the stone,
yeah, sure.
the stone selection, the coloration of the.
Sure.
There we go. Great. So there are some materials here.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
She did send all these to me earlier, so.
So there's this, the stone selection obviously on the left. The brown section of the stone is probably about 8% of all of the stone. So it will just kind of tie into the wood, is kind of the color I was trying to draw out of that. And then the blue is the siding, the majority of the siding. And then that top piece is the cedar. I'm sorry, the shake siding. It's a cedar look. It goes for it's multicolored. And then the piece on the lower right, that would be our garage doors. We then tied in together all with white trim. And then the roof is on the lighter side, but not too light. Since we do have a darker siding, we kind of wanted it to not be too dark. Yeah.
Do you know
And
what
then
the name?
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Do you know what the name of the roofing material is? Or the color? The color?
The color is, if I'm trying to remember it. It is Timberline high definition, and the color is oyster gray. I can hold it up in front of the video if you want me to try. I don't know.
You can try.
I can try. I'd be happy to try.
That's the one at the bottom?
Yeah, that's one where my finger is.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
Yeah.
I think what I'd like to do is maybe open up to the board right now for some questions and comments, and then circle back to you for some of the answers. Okay. So saying that, Fran, do you have any questions?
I don't. I may, but I don't right now.
Okay. Mary, do you have anything right now?
No, I mean, I took a look at the neighborhood, and I think the house is divergent from the rest of the neighborhood, both in scale and look. I think it's a lovely house. It's about 3,200 square feet if you count the 3-car garage, which makes up part of the facade. So I just wanted to make sure everyone was aware of that. It's considerably larger and of a different style than the neighborhood. That's all. I don't have any issues with the house per se.
Okay, very good. Brian, do you have any questions?
Yeah, I was just looking on Google Street View just to get an idea of the neighborhood, and the house next to that lot. How old is that house? Does anyone know? Is it?
It's like 7.
It looks like it's about 10 years old, maybe 5.
Oh, the one around the corner, from Babcock. Yeah.
I believe
Yeah.
it's
Last
10.
time.
10? Okay.
10
Because that's the newest construction, and from what I'm seeing from everything else there. And then on that lot, it looks like there's the lot that you're looking at. It looks like there's 2 or 3 mature trees. Is the plan to get rid of those trees in construction?
It is. We had a tree doctor come out and look at it, and the crabapple is really in bad shape in the front, and then the next one is an American basswood, and it is really weak. It's partially diseased. He said that at the location of the garage, the root system is gonna be where the house goes, and he would not. I just said, would you build a new house next to it? And he said no. So.
Okay. All right, that's all I have.
Okay. Casey, got any questions, comments?
I guess first comment is I do agree with what Mary said. I also drove down the street just to get a feel for it. Not necessarily the scale, because there are some longer, wider houses on that street, but I do have concerns about the amount of roof, if you will. There are some really nice looking Cape Cod style houses there. So in the sense it's getting close, but it is a lot of roof, a lot of mass compared to the other houses that are on that street. But that'll be, I mean, we'll discuss that further once it's the part of the board. One question I did have, going back to the roofing materials, on the front rendering, it does appear that there might be some standing seam metal roof. Is that the intent?
Yes.
Okay. Do we know what color that was?
It's going to be like a dark pewter gray.
Okay. Okay. That's the only question I had.
Okay, great. Thank you. Chris, any questions?
Yes, maybe just a little bit nitpicky, but if we could go to the left elevation. I had a question about the windows on the left side. And it seems like there's at least 2 different head heights going on. And I think what's going on partially on that far left side is the 2 windows. I think they're labeled A251, whatever, that look the same as what's on the far right. They don't look like they're at the same height, but I'm assuming that they will be. That's just a drafting error there.
They should be. They're the same type of windows, the same idea. So let light in, but still have privacy along that side. So they should be.
So I'm curious why the bathroom windows kind of pop up then. I mean, why wouldn't we just maintain the same height of the windows all the way across? It just seems a little bit schizophrenic.
No, I agree with you. I can have them look at that for the drawings. Definitely when we go in construction. The reason why we were going for, oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead. Other than that, I don't have any other comments, so go ahead.
I was just gonna say, we basically have a lovely 2-story home right now in Brighton, but needed a 1-story. So I know it's sprawling, I know it's wide, but we found a plan that would fit, no variances, and it's basically my son has a physical disability, and we need to get our bedroom and his bedroom and to get it all on the main level. So that we had to do a ranch.
Yeah, I understand Casey's point about the massing, especially as the rear elevation is actually the elevation that's going to be facing your neighbor immediately to the right. The front of the house faces, because it's a corner lot, you know, it's an interesting situation. And that rear elevation, what is your neighbor's facade opposite of your rear facade? Is that a garage over there?
So the house that we share with the driveway, the one that's directly behind us?
Yes.
Okay, so that is the left side of their house. And they have built up a lot of nice trees in that area. I'm not sure what type of rooms they have in on that side. So their
I'm
house.
looking at it, and I'm actually looking at it right now, and it's not a garage. It looks like it could be a family room with a door on the side.
My husband just came in and
But
said it's actually a family room without windows. He's been there.
Brian, do you see windows on that facade on the neighboring house?
Yeah, I see big picture windows on that side. So it'd be the side facing where your lot would be. There's two upper windows, and then there's two larger windows down below, and a looks like a door to the back on that side.
Okay. Okay. Does anybody have anything else to add at this point? Hearing none. Courtney, is there anything further that you want to tell us about this, or?
No, I thought that the neighborhood, we're just trying to do right by Brighton. It's a great street. I feel like there's a lot of diversity on that street, and that hopefully it would look good in there.
Okay. And I think you've heard me say what we do is we typically will deliberate at the end of the meeting, come up with a decision based upon the information you've provided us, and come back with some comments. And you can call the town, talk to Jeff, and or email Jeff to let you know what the decision is. Okay?
Okay, great.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right. Moving on, we are at AR5, 30 Willard Avenue, Jeff Smith, the new single-family home. Somebody here to represent this?
Yes, I'm here.
Jeff is here, yeah.
Okay, Jeff, could you please walk us through the proposal for the new single-family home, please?
Okay, there we go. Yes, this is our last home site on our Pinnacle Hills subdivision, which is on Willard Avenue off of Highland Avenue. It's lot number 8, 30 Willard, which is the smallest lot and had some building restrictions in terms of the rear setback as well as the front setback. So we designed a nice compact, approximately 2,100 square foot, 2-story home to do that. And we were considerate of what we could do for a patio in the rear and still equal the rear required setbacks. I think Jeff has on the right now is the full view of the architectural drawings. I also had submitted, I don't know, Jeff, if you have available the selection sheets as well. We will be using, there they are. We'll be using essentially very similar products as we've used throughout the subdivision. Same level of finish. And I did submit late today, and Jeff may not have had it in time, but we had the rendering done of the house probably a little sooner than we selected the final colors. But I had emailed it to Jeff. There you go. Thank you. The color there is not that indicative of the, although we've had trouble anyway with our rendering guy that we use in, I think he's in Colorado, and that it's always hard to give him a color and then have it come out right when we print it. But anyway, as shown anyway, it's indicating a two-tone finish where we would have the accent on the gables to be a lighter gray and the body of the house a deeper gray, a harbor gray made by mastic, which is our standard siding. Windows Pella white, porch white railing, front door, the carriage style, garage doors in white as well with some louver details. that's it. It would be very complementary to the other homes in the neighborhood, and all of which are occupied right now.
Okay. Jeff, could you go back to the elevations, please?
Yeah. Oh, sorry.
Great, thank you. And I see on this house that all the windows are maybe at the same height, where we had comments on a few of the other homes, right? So all of these, all the windows,
Yes,
at least
they're all the same height. Yes, we had one home that we were in conflict with a shower assembly, and that was why it was trying to do something on its own. But now, yes, they're all on the same height.
Okay.
So it took us 8 houses to learn all these details, you know. So.
Right. There you go. The left side is the garage side, and I think that we've done this on 1 or 2 of your other homes here. We have asked for windows in the garage, in the side of the garage, because they are facing a living area of the neighboring home. That may be a comment that we might have on this particular instance. Could you flip to the next page, Jeff, please? The next 2, yeah. Yeah, and I did see that all the windows were lining up nicely on this one. And there seems like an awful lot of windows, which I believe is a good thing, which is a very good thing. I don't have any other questions. Well, actually, the only thing I do have is we're showing siding all the way down to the ground.
That's correct, and we've done that consistently with all the homes.
Okay, with no issues of the water table or mulch or anything getting piled up against the home.
No, well, we still maintain a code distance, approximately 4 inches, and the grass grows, and some people put too much mulch on the gardens and all that, but still there's ample room for water moisture control.
Excellent. Okay, great. I don't have any other questions in that, so I'll open up to the remainder of the board. I'm going to go in the same exact order again. Fran?
No, I have no questions. Thank you.
Okay. Mary?
Only the window on the garage, Andrew, which you already brought up. Thank you.
Okay. Brian?
No, I'm good. It looks good. Thanks.
Casey?
Window in the garage, and then I was going to ask if there's any consideration on that second floor to the above left of the garage, getting another window in there. That would be in a bedroom. Just trying to break up that facade.
Well, their bedrooms, rear bedroom is bedroom number 2, front bedroom number 3. Both have 2 windows in the room. That window that is shown is in bath number 2. So they would be on a slightly different plane. The front bedroom, as you can see, there's a roof line there that's back further than the back bedroom, but they have bedroom windows that go front and back. Given the side view, I guess we'd probably prefer not to have a side view of the existing home there on the left side.
Right.
The right side's our house, but.
Okay.
That's it.
Okay. Chris?
Thank you for the fireplace bracket. I was going to mention that a lot of the lessons learned have come through, and
That's
this is
right.
just a really nice,
We're trying to
nicely
pay
proportioned
attention.
little house. And you've already answered my comments. I was going to echo some of what Casey was saying, but with a little different spin. That bedroom 2, the windows on the rear facade kind of don't line up with the dining room window down below, and maybe think about swapping one of the pair of bedroom 2 around to the side, but you've answered that that's not a particularly desirable view in that direction. Did I hear that right, Jeff?
Right, on the left side of the home, you're right. We're dealing with an older existing house.
Right. Okay, so I don't have any other
Jeff,
comments.
you want to go back and look at the left side there? Yeah, so we've admittedly, we've kind of somewhat blanked it out. We did that. I don't have any problem with adding a garage window, and I think in that, in general, will help that whole elevation on that side of the house.
I think it would too. Okay. Jeff, do you have anything further to add for us this evening?
Nope, I think I'm good. And as I mentioned, if the board would like the left side garage window, I'm fully in support of that.
Okay, very good. Anything else from the board? Hearing and seeing none. I think you know. I think you know the deal. We'll deliberate afterwards,
yeah,
and call the town in the morning with our decision. Okay.
Okay. Well, thank you very much for your time tonight.
You bet. Thank you very much, Jeff.
Bye.
Thank you.
All right, great. Now we're going on to 3AR-6-20, 2613, 2617 West Henrietta Road. Exterior improvements with new brick. Somebody here to represent this application.
Just get them, Jeff. Hold on.
Chris Downs from Dwyer Architectural.
Great. Could you walk us through the proposal, please?
So basically, we're kind of coming back to the table about the project that's on West Henrietta Road for the University of Rochester about facade upgrades and exterior improvements with utilizing new brick from Drive It to basically try and match very similar of what was done on the previous end of one of the buildings. So a bunch of years ago, or I don't know, I think 2 or 3 years ago, they did the facade on the right-hand side of the building of the existing facade, utilizing actual full masonry brick, and had a lot of trouble with tying it back to the existing structure, as well as just cost overruns and dealing with the tenants and having to disturb the tenants. So we were looking to basically utilize new brick to redo the remaining facade with trying to match existing color of the brick, trying to detail around the windows, and looking to basically utilize the new brick on the existing EFIS facade of the building, and trying to pull elements from the existing to basically make the whole facade of the plaza looking very similar and aesthetically pleasing to not just the tenants, but people, you know, staff that are coming in and patients for the University of Rochester. And I think previously when we kind of talked about this a while ago, there were some concerns with the new brick as far as transitions, the durability, damage, impact. So as part of what we resubmitted to this is we actually provided a package with some of the product data literature on the new brick product, as well as we did get some pictures, photos of existing projects, one in Buffalo and one in Canandaigua, that actually uses the new brick product down as a wainscoting at grade level. And it has been holding up. We've also, you know, as part of this meeting as well, brought in somebody from New Brick if there's any like specific questions that we need to kind of get into detail about. But basically, we're just kind of looking to get approvals to basically address the facade and kind of start the upgrade process of you know, the building and making it look a little more or less than just a plaza.
Yeah, I think if I recall correctly, please correct me if I'm incorrect. Proposing the new brick, the reason one of the reasons you're proposing the new brick is because of some of the structural integrity of those existing walls. And to tie back a real brick or tie back a half brick, what have you, would require structural improvements to the walls, as well as coming from the inside, coming back out, as I recall correctly, correct?
Yeah, based on one of the contractor's information that he got from the building owner, is that they had a lot of, as they started to tear and connect into, they found a lot of areas that needed, you know, upgrades to the structure, whether it's metal studs or block. And in doing that, they also had to go on the inside of the building and provide, you know, demolition on that side to cut into the wall and really make a lot of disruptions to the tenants and that are kind of using the space. So that's where we were trying to look for a product that was a little less or a little easier to install without less damage to the existing or having disrupt the existing tenants. But also it's a lightweight product so that we don't have to, you know, provide the same type of construction as a typical masonry face brick.
Okay. I think some of the questions and the comments that we had previously related to the brick itself, and number one was the finish to the top of the brick, because in this plaza area, it appears as if there's a limestone top to the existing brick. Is that correct? And what you're proposing is just a soldier course finish to the top. Is that?
Yeah. So we were looking at either doing a EFIS sill brick, but as we did some additional research and looking at some of the other buildings, we found that also we could actually do the new brick with as a top sill for the brick as well, which actually would match more with what's going on with the existing facade that was done.
Okay.
So here was one that was done. This is the one that's in Canandaigua, where they did an EFIS sill. And then there was another one, if we go kind of further in, or is where they did very similar look to what's going on currently right now on this facade.
Okay. I think one of the other questions we batted around a little bit as well was cutting of the material. So at the base here, for example, in this particular photo where we have our concrete sidewalk abutting the building, you're cutting the new brick. What is the interior of and I guess some of our questions related with the integrity of the interior of the new brick material. Is it red all the way through? What do the end caps look like if it has to be cut, or are each one of these things ordered specifically for a certain application? I guess that was some of the questions, as I recall, we talked about.
Yeah. So like at ends, each of the new brick does come in corners, so it can wrap around to create a closed surface at the ends. I mean, in this case, we don't, again, we're dealing with a sill of EFIS. I don't remember if there was pictures, but if you go back to that one picture, Jeff, that we were just at the ends, you can kind of, you can see where it actually wraps, and they actually make special bricks that actually do that and close that off.
Okay.
These can be cut, to kind of fit those conditions.
Okay. Okay. I have nothing against the appearance and what the appearance is, try to match the brick and the coloration and the whole bit. Those were my questions from when we first initially took a look at this. I'll open it up to the remainder of the board for further questions. Again, same order. Fran.
You addressed everything that I had. in regard to the ends and looking at other projects, how the top wall's finished. So I'm good.
Okay, thank you. Mary, any questions?
Same here.
Okay, very good. Brian?
Just one thing, based on the new information for new brick, is the intent then to try to match what's existing with the new brick based on all of the colors that I'm seeing in the new brick brochure and the blends and the textures and the effects? Is that the general idea, is to get as close as you can to what's there?
Yes, we are looking to match with the mixed blend to match very closely to what the existing was. I think if you kind of, Jeff, if you kind of zoom in on that kind of point where it intersects, so we're going to look to try to match that specifically to that blend when that goes in. And where we, again, where the existing and the new kind of tie into each other, you know, it's going to be more like a typical joint between two different materials, you know, with a 1/2-inch caulk joint or grouted out, so that it's going to really kind of just look like a joint, control joint between the two.
Okay, that's all I had. Thanks.
All right, thanks, Brian. Casey, any questions?
No, well, so I appreciate all the added detail. I think that's definitely more helpful, you know, that last sheet, A102, at least you've now really thought about transitions. You know, I did go online to drive its details, and because the one thing that was not addressed is how do you plan on hitting that sidewalk? I know one of the examples showed it being cut and directly above a sidewalk, you know, but Drive It does still recommend a 2-inch minimum above concrete, and then obviously even more, I think it was 8 inches above any kind of soil. So just wondering, what is the plan there at the bottom of the wall?
And I think very similar, and I think that's kind of why we kind of showed the one photo that is, I believe, in Buffalo, that where it actually was cut down right down to where the existing sidewalk was, or the plaza sidewalk. And so as this is being adhered to the existing EFIS, I mean, I think when in our discussions with Drive It and the companies is that joint, again, would just be like a caulk joint, and kind of established. I don't know, John Powers, who actually represents, I don't know if he has a little more insight on that specific detail.
I'm muted.
I'm unmuted now, Chris. Pleasure meeting everyone. As Chris mentioned, my name's John Powers. I'm with Drive It New Brick. To answer the question specifically, Chris, there's a couple detailing options. Casey correctly pointed out that if it's above dirt, code mandates 6 to 8 inches, depending upon your local jurisdiction. Above the sidewalk, it's either 3/4 of an inch or 2 inches. 2 inches more for snow climates. Two different details. One would be a starter piece that has a lip that the new brick would be installed on top of. The second would be a piece of flashing that's installed, and then the drainage plane would actually come over the top of the flashing, typically with weep tubes and sealant. So if Casey looked at the details, you would have seen that detail as well.
So, John, to put you on the spot here, that first detail you speak of with maybe you just have to repeat it for me to get the nomenclature correct. But there would actually be a piece that is laid down on the sidewalk itself, and then new brick then starts at that position. Is that piece, and can that piece match the brick, same coloration of the brick? What is that material made out of?
Yeah, great point. Ultimately, what it amounts to is it would be a kind of a shadow effect, so it's not visible, but ultimately it would match the color of the brick at that location. What I can probably try to do is get Chris a photograph or two of other projects that have utilized similar detailing for everyone's review and use.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, thank you, John. Appreciate that. Casey, anything further from you?
Nope.
No? Okay. Chris, questions?
No, no questions. Thank you.
Okay. I don't think I have any further questions as long as I know, and I just, what is the final proposal? And I guess we've gotten a lot of information here. I just want to hear exactly what the final proposal is for this. So Chris, if you don't mind, just go through that. You're going to do horizontal brick. You're going to finish it off with brick on top. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. And then you will follow the recommendations from New Brick on the installation techniques for the base course above concrete, correct?
Yes, that is correct. And also in doing that to just, maintain the product warranty for the client.
I'm making an assumption here, but please, I assume that you would have the lowest, if you do follow the first technique that John was talking about, the lowest profile against the sidewalk edge. It appears you want to carry that new brick down as far as possible.
Yes.
Okay. Does the board have any other questions? I don't see any. Okay, Chris, I think you know the deal as well. We will deliberate afterwards, and then you can contact Jeff with our decision. Okay.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Great. All right, we're moving along pretty good, folks. Come on, let's keep it up. I'm not tired yet. All right. I think we are now at 4AR-1-20 190 Alamo Drive, rear addition and roof alteration. Is somebody out there to represent this application?
Can you hear me? Hello?
Hi, how are you this evening?
Hi, good evening. How are you?
I'm well. Could you give us a little background to your proposal and give some explanation to what it is you're proposing, please?
Absolutely. So we live in about a little over 1,000 square foot house. We bought it about 8 years ago. We went ahead and had a handful of children. We would like to remain in this house. We love the neighborhood. We love our home. We love Brighton. We haven't had any luck looking outside of Brighton or even finding something in the area. And so we are proposing to build an addition onto our home, onto the rear side of it. The biggest piece being a great room. And the reason that we are here is because the size of the room has caused us to need a roof that is going to be at a certain pitch. Excuse me, this is all a different language to me, that you're basically going to be able to see from the front of the house. It's going to be about 3 feet, the peak of the roof, above the roof that's in the front. So you'd be able to see it from the street. So we need approval to go ahead and do that.
Okay, can you tell us a little bit about the materials that you're going to be utilizing on the home, please?
Sure. So the siding is going to be the same as the rest of the home, and the shingles are also going to be the same as the rest of the home. You'll see on one of the pictures that that peak that you can see from the front. It looks like in the drawing that you have, and this was my fault, we have updated drawings that I didn't get to Jeff. I thought it's been months since this has happened, so I'm a little behind with it. But the piece that you can see from the front, it looks like it's shingled. That's actually going to be siding, and it's going to be the same siding as the rest of the home.
Okay, and then you're going to try to match the shingles on the home, or are you replacing the entire roof? What's your intention there?
Likely replacing the entire roof.
Because it appears from the photographs that you provided, the roof may have some discoloration already and some wear on it already.
Yeah, it's about 9 years old, and we were told basically there's not too much of a difference between just replacing the whole roof when they're doing the work, so we opted to do that. Okay, very good. Okay,
I think I'll open it up to the board right now for some questions. Fran, questions?
No, just maybe a comment that the windows in the rear, I know they're not symmetrical to the outside, they are on the inside. You know, you've got a rear vent fireplace where there's a little bit more, you know, which forces the one window to be pushed toward the other.
Right.
I don't know if you thought of any, just a thought, but any treatment to the exterior of that, even though it's not a true brick fireplace, but maybe some kind of treatment to make that look a little more balanced. But it's just a comment.
No, and it's something we've toyed around with. And so no, I appreciate that. We're still kind of trying to figure out. I know we're very symmetrical people, so we've been trying to figure out the best way to do that. But yeah, this is kind of where we left off with our architect.
Okay. Anything further, Fran?
No.
Okay. Mary?
Nada, gracias.
Okay, thank you. Brian?
Yep, all set.
Okay. Casey?
Just to clarify, when you said that you'd sent in, that you've updated drawings, when we're looking at the front west elevation, that peak I'm seeing, what material is that?
So if you're standing from the street and looking at it,
Yeah.
it's going to be the same vinyl shingles as the rest of the home. So you should, I think you're looking at, it looks like it, not shingles, I'm sorry, siding. It'll be vinyl siding rather than roofing shingles.
So so if I'm looking now at the side elevations, I guess, what is your new roof? What's the form of the roof now?
I'm not sure.
Because right now, when I look at the side elevations, essentially it's showing that your front roof is continuing up.
Mhm.
But you're saying that when we look at the front of the house, the addition, where you're actually gonna do wall siding there.
Right.
Instead of being continuation of your shingles.
Right.
Side elevations, then that.
I think the side elevation would be roofing shingles.
What was that?
I believe the side, from the sides, it's gonna be roofing shingles. Only the front is going to be the siding.
Okay, I think I see where Casey's going here, because the west elevation is the front. So your south elevation and north elevation show that it's a continuation of the roof itself. So you're suggesting that that will no longer be the case, and where the hand is right now is actually going to be a vertical plane, and your roof is going to come over parallel with the top of the roof? Is that correct?
To the best of my understanding, yes. The reason so the peak, yeah, I mean, to the best of my understanding, yes. So then, yep, what you're drawing, exactly.
Okay. Okay, very good.
Jeff, you're very good at this. Thank you for that.
Yes, thank you.
Jeff, could you color that in for us now? Thanks. Very good, excellent. All right, I'm sorry. Casey, did you have anything else?
No, other than that, thank you for, I mean, at least the side and rear elevations are pretty well thought through. So thank you for that.
Okay. Chris, questions?
What was the reasoning to shift from a roofing material to a siding material there for the portion that extends above the west elevation? I'm not clear on that.
Miscommunication with our architect. It's the plans that he gave us. I was probably overly involved without my wife's opinion. And when she saw that, she decided that she'd rather have the siding than the roofing. I think overall, if it's a deciding factor, we're comfortable with each option. But we have a preference for the siding rather than the roofing.
Okay. I don't have any other questions.
All right, thanks, Chris. I don't have any other questions myself. Is there anything further that you would like to add for us to consider as we think about this and deliberate?
Nope, I heard the rest of it. I'll contact Jeff tomorrow. I appreciate everyone doing this. I know it's been a tough time, and I appreciate everyone making the effort to make this happen. I'm going to hope that less questions is a good thing, but whatever is decided, we appreciate the time. So thank you.
All right, thank you very much.
Yeah, have a good night.
You too. Great, let's keep this moving along if you don't mind here. We go to 6AR-1-20, 72 Sunset Drive. Addition to front of a house. There's somebody here to represent this application.
I'm here.
Great.
Jim Keenan.
So if you could walk us through what it is you're doing, the materials you're using for this, please.
Okay.
Thank you.
Basically, our house now, the way it kind of sits, it's in like two offset rectangles. So we are bringing the southeast side there, the southeast corner. We're going to bring that up flush to the front of the house and extend. That's like a small sitting room we have there now, and it's just now going to hopefully open that up to be. Oh, that's not one larger room, really. The materials we're going to use, we're just going to match everything that's existing there. Your standard, it's like a light gray horizontal siding. What's there now going up to the peak is actually like soffit material that the previous owner had put on, but we're going to switch that out and use white cedar shake vinyl siding to kind of give it a nicer little look. And then the way our front door is, the way they're going to roof it over is going to kind of become like a little enclosed or covered porch, I should say, just to be able to step up out of the elements. And really that's about it. It'd be existing like maroon, or not maroon, but barn red shutters that we have out front now. And the one window that we currently have in the area, it's a smaller window. We're going to replace that to match the same length and that's on the other side of the house.
Okay. So from your drawings, I'm having a hard time picturing the right side elevation for some reason. What am I missing here? While I'm looking here, so I apologize. So let's the rest of the board. Fran, do you have questions?
No, I don't.
Okay. Mary?
Sorry. No, I think the photograph showing the existing house might be flipped. So it looked like the left side was set back and the right side. So I was a little confused. I don't know if anybody else noticed that, but
That's not my house.
oh, that explains.
Yeah, that's not it. The pictures was not.
Okay.
Here, hold on. I can try this. If you guys can look in, let me see if I can do this here. Where am I? If you can kind of see, I know I'm looking at it backwards. Okay, so the part with the star on it, that is like our mud room. And then you can kind of see to the, I guess I'm reading back to me, it'd be the right to me.
Yeah.
That's the existing, and then so that small window on the left, that's the corner that we're bumping out to be flush with the mud room.
Okay.
And it's just going to match like that, the gray siding, the barn red shutters, and it's like it's going to be re-peaked, obviously. So it's in, one main peak in the middle of the house instead of kind of offset. And then there, when you're talking about the right side elevation too, just an aesthetic thing, the architect, the way he put it in, I know we were really close to code. We were like right on the code line. The fireplace is actually going to be centered between that other window near our side door and the front window. So it's kind of centered in the room that's going to become one, if you will. So I had talked to Patty Hinckley about that. She said that was no big deal. We just can slide that back as close as we can to where the structural beam will be. Then we're good too about having a clearance from the window and everything else. So that's really the only change, so to speak.
Okay. That's all for me.
Okay, Brian?
So the fireplace that you were just talking about, that's basically going where your door is right now?
No,
I'm looking
where
at
that is, no, that part, now that's gonna be all new. Right now, if you look at this, man, excuse me, the right side elevation, like you have our side door, that window, and then right there at the breaking point, the front, like that's the end of our house now. So all we have right there now is a side door and a window. So when that comes out now, it's gonna have to be to the front side of where the support beam is, but it's gonna be trying centered between those two windows as best as possible. Because
Okay.
that's gonna be like kind of one long room from when you walk in. We want to kind of, and then you can also see it through the entryway into our other living room. So you can kind of get the best of both worlds from there.
Well, I think the good thing about doing this addition is it'll give your house a little more scale. I'm looking at a street view, and your house is a little bit smaller than your neighbors on left and right. So it'll give your house a little more scale. So.
If you can see my neighbor on the right, his house is pretty much covered in vines and it's like a jungle, but yeah.
Yeah, it is.
He's got some squirrels living in his roof, so nice guy, but he's got no business owning a home.
All right, thanks.
Casey?
Nope, I don't have any questions. Thank you.
Chris?
I think I understand it pretty well. Thank you.
I guess I may be the only one that has a little bit of an issue, but I'll rely on the remainder of my members of the board to teach me and talk me through it. So, do you have anything further you want to add, Jim, to the app for us to consider?
No, I think that's it. Like going through with the architect, he said it was just a pretty standard, very minimal addition, just bumping out about 130 square feet we're adding on. So just trying to, like that, get a little bit bigger footprint in the house and another formal room.
Okay. All right, great. That's great. So we will deliberate on this a little bit later this evening, and then you can call Jeff at the town of Brighton or email him tomorrow and to get our decision on this. Okay.
Okay. Just out of curiosity, what you said, you were kind of still confused on something. Can I ask what it was?
It's the right side elevation. I'm still a little bit confused on. That is, it's showing me an addition. It's showing me the fireplace in the window. The confusion that I have is the roof that comes down from where it's existing door and existing window. The roof line, they don't match. They're not at the same elevation. And I guess I don't understand why they're not at the same elevation.
Oh, as far as I know, I mean, even talking with the contract, that should all be, yeah, they're not going to be offset. It's going to come down to the same height. This isn't going to be a little bit lower than what's there now. I don't know if that's just how we printed it off or what that, but yes, as far as everything is all going to come down to the same elevation and all tie in, it's not going to have any different heights or elevations to it. So,
well, that might just be a clarification because the existing right side elevation shows it as well. That it steps down.
Yeah, no, as far as I don't want that. So no, that shouldn't.
So your intention would be that eave height, it would all be consistent around that entire area.
Yes, with what's there now, it's going to tie into the existing height. If I'm saying that correctly, yeah, there will be no difference in height from that. We're basically.
You see what I'm seeing. You see what I'm seeing, right?
Yeah, it looks like it's just a little bit lower for the new part coming out off the existing. No, yeah, we're literally just coming straight out, same height, same everything, same elevation. So I'm not sure why that looks like that, but it should not be it. Because then if you look, oh wait, no, that's the existing right. Oh, if you're okay, the existing right that if you're looking at that is currently our mudroom. That's on the left side of the house. So but that still is all this. Everything is all still the same height because it's all guttered through there. So I don't know why it looks like that.
Okay. All right. Well,
so
that would definitely need to be rectified, and good plans would have to be provided to the building department for permit review to make sure that that is clarified. I guess, does everybody on the board understand that? Just a nod of the head?
Yes.
Everybody else
Yeah.
understand?
Say,
I understand the intent. You can see an offset in the mudroom eave height versus the rest of the house when you go to street view. So I think maybe that's where that crept in, but as long as we understand that the intent is that the eave lines are going to match between the existing main part of the house to the rear and what's coming off the front. I mean, I think that's how I understand Jim's.
Yeah, all the eaves are going to remain the same. It's literally just, if you could just, like that, blow it out another 13 feet, it's just going to be the same stuff there. And like, I don't know why it shows that, because like I said, the current mudroom now, like if you went to, like Google Maps or whatever, like you'd see it's all the same. So I don't know how or why. I never caught that part of it, but
the mudroom eve is a little bit lower, and there's a little sleight of hand going on with the gable material on the offset that's a little bit further from the street, but I understand the intent.
If you look at the existing front elevation, the architect does at least address that. So zoom in, that lower roof, they do say to remove it and to build over it with a new roof.
Aha, there you go. Okay.
Okay, yeah, all right, so as I'm looking at the street view too, yeah, the way that is, but since he's going to re-peak that and tie it into the center and then have kind of like that little faux peak, if you will, on the front right, yeah, that's all going to be, adjusted accordingly. Sorry, I should have picked up on that one.
Nothing is escaping Casey tonight.
So, but yeah, so we'll all be, that's getting taken care of. So it'll all blend back in once he re-peaks it there in the middle. It'll all be the same elevation.
Okay. All right, great. Thank you very much for that clarification. I appreciate it. Great.
All
so
right.
give the town a call in the morning, and you'll hear our decision. Okay.
All right. Thanks.
All right. Thank you, Jim. All right. How are we all doing? Good?
Yes.
Great.
Okay, excellent. All right, let's continue on our way here. How about 6 AR 220, 50 Terrytown Road? Convert garage to bedroom. Somebody there to represent this application?
Yes, sir.
Hi, could you please walk us through what you're doing and materials you're using, and give us all the information you have, please?
Essentially, I looked at this job about 1.5 years ago, had since passed it off to the architect. The homeowner dragged their feet on it for probably 8 months, and now we have about 3-month delay with all the COVID, obviously. So in the interim, my recollection is a little vague, but ultimately we are looking to convert the garage into a bedroom as they have run out of space for their children.
Okay, and you are just infilling the doorway, putting in siding that matches the house, and then you're putting in a brand new window. Is that window going to match the remainder of the house?
I will do my best to attempt to match the rest of the house. It appears from the pictures that the remainder of the house has already been upgraded with replacement vinyl, so the trim details may not match and coincide with the one above it in the dormer, as we're going to gain glass space going with new construction versus a remodel. So we'll have to manipulate either the trim or the glass size, but still maintain fire egress.
Do you think that the larger window on the left-hand side of the doorway, is that a replacement window as well? Or do you think that might be
I'm not seeing that one on the current screen, so I'm not entirely sure. Let me take a gander. The left-hand side of the main door, front entryway.
Yeah.
I don't see that on the 4 sheets that I have from the architect here. I mean, I can match it as far as the height is concerned. Regarding the glass size, though, all right, there we go. I don't anticipate it being that large, but I could to try to mimic and carry over the detail. But the drawings are relatively rudimentary, if you will, only because this was just kind of a takeoff to see if it would get approved, and it was all contingent upon the approval before we start doing all the final details.
Okay, and of course, you know, you need final details for building permit, of course.
Well, I mean, ultimately, what we have listed there, he's got dimensions provided, but it's subject to change per your approval.
I'll open up for the rest of the board right now. Fran, do you have any questions?
No, I don't.
Mary?
Just wanted to know how you intend to meet the ground with your, your siding's not gonna go all the way down to the ground, I take it?
No, ma'am, that's actually detailed in the plan. If you want to take a look at it, there's two options regarding both section 2 and A and B. So it does have an 8-inch minimum off of the grade, and I believe there's a similar elevation depending on what style we get to, because there's two different options for section 2 on page 1.
Okay, because typically the garage door goes right down to the slab, and so I guess you'll be coming up a little bit from that.
Correct. I would have to build that up regardless, just for vapor barriers and such,
Oh,
in
there
order
you
to
go.
construct the wall properly.
I looked at it earlier today and then I forgot. Thank you.
No worries.
Anything else, Mary? Brian?
I'm all set. It looks pretty straightforward.
Okay. Casey?
Hi, Casey.
Hey, Jim. Okay, so according to the plan, you're stepping down just one step, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
What is the intent for the height of this new window? So I'm
On
assuming.
the front or the side? For the replacement on the infill, or are you talking about the side that's going to be replaced?
So it looks like both align with each other, but how do they relate to the other first floor windows on the actual living side? So you got the picture window on the front, and I'm not sure what's going on, you know, in the rest of the house.
Nor I had shot Tom a message in the interim while I was waiting for you guys to see if he had any further detail. He's obviously at home at this point and does not have the drawings available to him. I would imagine that we could probably match elevations, and because we're manipulating the one on the side of the garage, that we could cheat that as well, so everything has some sort of continuity, but it has yet to been determined. At the same token, in raising that, because it is coming off of below grade for the driveway, there's an 18-inch storage bench, it appears in the plan, in front of that window. So if we do have to elevate the window, we'll still maintain proper egress with the 44-inch minimum, because they could use that as a step. So I don't anticipate any problems if we do have to raise the window up to match the existing in the living room.
Okay.
Anything further, Casey?
Nope, that was it.
All right. Chris?
Well said, thanks.
Okay, great. I don't have any further questions either. So Jim, we'll deliberate and then give the town a call in the morning with our decision. Do you have anything further that you want to add to this?
No, sir. No, I'm relatively vague on this project, unfortunately, so I can't provide entirely too much. So.
But you're providing us just enough, right? You
That's all we need, right?
To move forward, so you need us.
This is true.
Fair enough. Okay. Hearing nothing more, then please give the call to the town tomorrow and you can hear our decision. All right.
All right, very good. Thank you, sir.
All right. Thank you very much.
Yeah, bye-bye.
All right, moving on. 6AR-320, 32 Danbury Circle, roof-mounted solar. Somebody here to represent this? And could you please just explain the project and what you're doing, please?
Yep. Hi, I'm Mike from Graves Brothers. We're putting a deck-mounted solar array on two sections or two facets of the Crawford's house. So one over the garage and one over the main entrance.
Okay. These will comply with the town requirements and fire code with spacing off the edges of the house and to the peak of the roof, I presume?
Yep, we believe so, yeah.
And the height of the panel off of the roof itself?
Yes.
Okay. Where are the electrical runs going to be made?
So I have, there should be two other gentlemen maybe trying to get in that are one engineer and one from the manufacturer. They may be trying to get in. I'm not sure if they've got their hands raised or not.
What are their names?
Kevin Cool should be one.
Okay, he's there.
And I'm not sure about the other one. If Kevin comes on, he'll tell us the engineer's name.
Yeah, hi there. My name is Kevin from GAF Energy. Thanks, Mike. My engineer here that we have is Benjamin Lynch. As far as the conduit run, and Ben can probably speak a little bit more competently to this than I can. Our electricians always wire things as much of a direct fashion from the main service panel. In this case, that main service panel is inside the home. So it looks like we're going to be able to we're dropping that wire down through the facet in the sidewall. Will be connected to the meter, which is on the exterior.
I'm not hearing this answer. I didn't really catch what's going on.
I believe what I just heard was they will be dropping electrical in the interior wall or the exterior wall, but inside the home, and then connecting out to the meter, and the meter is on the back of the home. So I believe, if I'm not mistaken, what I heard was we will not see any conduit on the roof. That is our main concern, that we don't have conduit runs that are running over the roof, through the roof, and you're dropping the lines through the attic or the crawl space or the attic and then down through the walls. Is that correct, Kevin?
Yeah, this project, this is Ben Lynch speaking, the engineer with GAF Energy. The project here has accessible attic space, so we should be able to route it to the other side of the ridge. And the meter there is on the other side of the chimney on the right side of the image here, so we can run it down the conduit down the other side of the chimney so it won't be visible from the street, and keep the conduit and all electrical connections outside of the junction box within the attic itself to avoid that from being seen.
Awesome. Okay. So if you do have a conduit run, it will be on the interior of where the chimney and the house come together and run straight down. Okay. Okay. I'll open it up to the remainder of the board. Fran, do you have any questions on this?
Nope, I'm all good. Thank you.
Okay. Mary? You're muted. That's okay. I think I saw a nod going no. So, all right. Brian?
Nope, all set.
Okay. Casey?
All good, thank you.
All right. Chris?
All set, thanks.
All right, great. I think I'm all set too. Thank you very much for the presentation. And you can call the town tomorrow morning to get our decision. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Much appreciated.
All right, moving along here. What are we at? 6AR-4-20, 2000 Summit Circle Drive. Somebody here to represent that proposal?
Just primary, I have to step away and recuse myself from this since I work at SWBR.
Yes, this is Rob Simonetti from SWBR representing JSL.
Hi, Rob. How are you?
Good, thank you. Thanks for having the stamina for this long meeting. This is a project out at the Jewish Senior Life Community. Very far off the road is the Summit, which is their independent living building with, I think it's roughly 100 apartments. And then it's connected to assisted living, and there's also memory care. Right now, at the back of the Summit, right off of there's two dining rooms, a kosher dining room and a non-kosher dining room. There is an enclosed courtyard enclosed by the independent, the assisted, and the memory care. with a nice little pond back there. And right now they just have a patio that goes unused. And really, I think it goes unused because there's no doors out there with the exception from the lobby. So even though there's patio right outside of the dining room, it doesn't get used. So this whole project is to re-envision that courtyard for all the residents there and for the dining and for a new lifestyle patio. So we've gone through the planning board and we did get approval last week from the planning board. We do have to go to the zoning for something small, and I think we're on the schedule for that. Architecturally, what we have is very simple. There's a lot of existing windows that you can see, and they're all wide. They're a 7-foot masonry opening and 10-foot high. So what we're going to do is we're going to remove 3 of the windows and replace them with double doors so that from both the kosher dining room and the non-kosher dining room, you can have access directly out onto the patio. So the windows are aluminum clad wood window. So we will replace those with aluminum clad wood doors with a transom above, automatic door operators with colors to match the existing colors of the windows that we're replacing. So architecturally, that's our biggest move. And then we're adding a couple of sconces on the piers to provide some light to the patio and adding a gutter where there is no gutter on the back of the building. Right now, the water just cascades off the roof onto the patio. So we'll add a gutter and connect that to the underground storm line. And architecturally, that's it. It's really an exterior project, adding the patio and a dining space and a fire pit and some things like that.
Okay, very good. Thank you, Rob. I'll open up to the board. Fran, do you have any questions on this?
Are the sconces to match existing in
No,
style?
well, yes, style. The existing, the building is 20 years old, so the sconces are, the same 20 years old. There's 4 existing sconces, I believe. They're a little bit small, but they're in a craftsman style. So we're going to replace them with still in the craftsman style, but something larger, a little bit more contemporary. And we submitted a cut sheet for that in the package. So it's pretty simple, ADA accessible, 4-inch offset. And there in that last picture, you can see the existing sconces there next to the door.
Yes. That's all I had. Thank you.
Okay, great. Thank you. Mary, any questions?
No, thank you.
Great. Brian, any questions?
Nope, all set.
Okay. Casey?
I'm all set.
Okay. Chris? Oh, you can't talk to this. We already lost him. I guess my only question that I had is, the detailing that you have on the piers between the windows, these are new details? They're nowhere else on the facade?
No, right now in that representation, it's the drafting. Those piers are all existing brick piers. So we're not touching any of the masonry. We're literally just cutting the windowsill down within that pier structure. So those piers should all be shown as brick.
Okay, and they're existing, so there's no.
And they're all existing, yeah. So
okay.
Really light touch.
Okay, fair enough. It was just maybe it's it looked as if the top of those piers kind of angled out for some reason, and so
there is an existing metal flashing on top of the piers because pigeons would sit up there, so they did add a cap underneath the soffit.
Okay.
It looked like it was done after the fact, but it is serving a purpose though.
Okay, all right, fair enough. That was the only question I had. So I think that the drill, Rob, is we'll deliberate a little bit later and give the town a call and Jeff a call tomorrow with our decision.
Great, okay. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you. All right. 6AR-5-20, 955 East Henrietta Road. Somebody here to represent this?
Yes, I am. Yes, I am. Scott Fisk from Party Partnership Architects.
Good. Could you please walk us through the proposal and how you're going to get the proposal completed here, please?
Certainly. Our client owns this building. It's actually two buildings, I think you see from the site plan that was provided. And he's doing interior renovations to this wing of it to make it, just bring the office areas up to date. As part of that, we wanted to provide an accessible entrance to the building off the parking area that's behind the building. So what you see is a ramp, accessible ramp that we designed to allow access into the building. The primary material for construction will be pressure treated. We are using a composite decking material. I have something, it's a little hard for you to see, I'm sure, but essentially it is a composite AZAC material that mimics decking from tongue and groove decking that's very traditional product. We find it works much better on ramps than using Trex or just planking. It will go down as the deck piece of it, and then we will be using a composite cap on the top of it just to help protect everything from the weather. Once the pressure treat dries out enough, it would all be stained a color to essentially mimic the existing building, which is sort of a beige. I think there's one color picture at the very end that'll give you an idea of what it looks like. Yeah. Now, the only other thing that we are doing is we are closing up that double window that you see there in this color photograph, infilling it. And then the next window to the left, we are enlarging and essentially putting a double window in there, all to match the existing style and the features that are there. That's the extent of it.
Okay. Does this doorway, does the doorway exist today for the ramp itself, or is that
No,
new?
it does not.
Do you have any information about the doorway and what that is going to be?
The door would be an insulated single light door with side lights to it. We've gone back and forth as to, I think it'll be a metal clad, it won't be a wood. The bulk of the trim and the finish on the house is done in aluminum, on the white aluminum. So we are going to work with a more than like an insulated metal door that'd be painted white to match. And then it's all insulated glass and a transom above it. Transom that we added to it in order to give some scale to the back of it. As a single door in the back, it didn't read very well. And so we thought that this would make a more presentable entrance.
Okay. All right. Those were my couple initial questions. I'll open it up to the board. Fran, do you have any questions?
I do not. Thank you.
Okay. Mary, do you have any questions?
I apologize if you said this and I didn't hear you, but when you reach the top of the ramp in a wheelchair, on the right side where the steps are to the landing, there's no protection, right?
No, there is. There's a railing there.
Okay, I can't.
It's hard to see in the elevations.
Oh, okay.
But there's a there you go.
It doesn't
to the right side of the doorway.
Door.
Yeah, there's a full wood railing and then a accessible handrail attached to it.
But where the steps are, one could be in a wheelchair at the top of the steps with no protection, right?
That is always the issue with trying to do both stairs and a ramp. It's a fairly generous size at the top, so there is more than sufficient room to be able to maneuver.
Oh, I don't doubt that. I was thinking of a possible.
No, I understand.
With the drop, I mean, it's probably 18-inch or 20-inch drop or something like that. Yeah, I wonder why people just don't all use the ramp in these cases.
A lot of people will. A lot of people will. They'll just use it instead. But you know, people like to have stairs and like to have direct access.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. Anything further, Mary? Hearing nothing. Brian?
Oh, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
All set, thanks.
Okay. Casey?
I'm all set, thank you.
Okay. Chris?
Good, thank you.
All right, great. Scott, is there anything further that you want to let us know about this before we think it over and deliberate?
No, I think it's a suitable style to to the building. We had looked at a couple of other ways of doing this. The materials are durable enough. It'll last quite a while. It'll be a nice addition to the back of the building, and it certainly provides better access than what is there now.
Okay. Yeah, and of course you follow all the ADA guidelines and such, and you'll be asked to, well, during the building plan review, they'll be looking for the ADA accessibility routes and the correct dimensions and such, and I'm sure you have that. So
it's all already in the drawing set.
Yep. Fair enough. Yeah, I have nothing further. So thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Appreciate your time.
Great. Okay. I think that is it for all the applications for buildings. We do have some signs to go through. I guess I ask everyone here, would you like to go through the signs right now, or would you like to go back to and review the buildings? Anybody?
I'd rather do the signs. It's probably usually pretty straightforward. That way we don't have to do it when our tongues are hanging out later.
Okay, fair enough. Anybody else? And I'm good with doing the signs right now as well. All right, Sequels Home Furnishings.
Looks like Scott is still in the meeting, by the way.
Yeah. And I guess question for Ramsey and Jeff, are there still people here on the meeting?
Scott and that's it. Oh, he's gone. Just us now.
Okay, fair enough. All right, Jeff, can you give us a little background to this?
I think they're a new business that's coming into the plaza. They're in the Winton Plaza, I believe. And they're putting up a sign. It fits with our requirements for size.
Jeff, it's not a new business. This is a sequel.
Uh,
But
I got it. That was a good one, Chris. That's excellent.
Had to wait for everyone else to leave.
Yeah, so raceway mounted channel letters. I didn't see whether or not they were lighting this. Is not lit, correct?
it does not. Bright white LED
Okay.
module space.
It is.
Yep.
I guess I don't understand what that means, but Brian, do you know what that means? Do you have any idea?
It just says sign illumination, bright white LED module space lit in the application.
Yeah, so I don't know what that means. Was there any details that were provided with it, Jeff?
Nope, that's it.
Okay.
It does say in the on the page, it says black perf vinyl. So I wonder if they're doing black perf vinyl on the lettering and then rear lighting it at night.
That's what I was about to say. I was having trouble unmuting. The black perf vinyl is something that looks black during the day, and then when it lights up at night, it becomes visible as white. And that's done with a channel letter where basically you've got the LED lighting inside a kind of an extruded back box, if you will. It's made out of sheet metal of some sort. So it's a pretty common way of having the letters light up. And if it weren't for that, you wouldn't need that raceway behind it, because that's where they run all the wiring out to each individual letter.
Okay, and I think the photos that were being shown here of the remainder, all of them are similar, and they do all have that raceway type of deal, right? Behind all of these is a little bit of a raceway.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, that's kind of how they do it at that plaza.
Yeah. Yep. All right. Anybody, Fran, do you have any comments? Or I any comments, I guess?
No, I have no issue with it.
Mary, comments? Mary, did you have any comments?
No, just shaking my head.
Okay. Brian, anything further?
No, all set.
Okay. Casey?
All good.
Chris?
I'm good.
All right. Does that mean we approve this as is? Good. Thumb up. I see thumb up. I see raised hand. Thumb up. Thumb up. Brian, double thumbs. All right. Fran, a thumb. Okay. It's approved, Jeff. Excellent. All right. Next.
So for this one, they have a sign that's there currently that's not lit, and so they are replacing the top portion and making sure that it's lit from behind.
It meets all the criteria of the code. Nothing else required.
Nope.
I think that's beautiful, personally. Fran, any questions?
No? Looks
Mary?
nice.
Looks fine, thank you.
Okay, Brian?
I think it sucks. Kidding. That's fine.
Casey?
All good.
All right. Chris?
Good.
Okay. I think you can put that down as good, approved.
Are we not doing the thumb thing anymore?
No, well, we were all live with microphones, so. Next.
This is a new sign that's going up on the Rochester Regional Health. They're replacing the old sign that's there. It does require a variance, and that application is already into the board, the zoning board.
It requires a variance due to the size of the sign?
The height.
The height.
Yeah.
Okay. Could you put the old sign back, the picture of the old sign? So this. Okay.
That one's actually higher than what they're asking for. Right?
Yeah.
So they have to go back for a variance? That variance only ran with the sign itself?
Yeah, I believe that's the case.
Okay. Could you put the proposal in? Yeah. I mean, that's their typical lettering and such. I don't have an issue with it. Fran?
I have no issue with it.
Okay. Mary?
No, neither do I, thank you.
Brian?
All good.
Casey?
An improvement. I like it.
Chris?
It's good.
Okay. I think you can put that one down as approved as well, Jeff.
Great. This is the Pet Supplies Plus. The old sign. It's a old Pet Saver, and it's becoming a Pet Supplies Plus, and so this is a new sign. It went to the planning board already and has conditional approval, as long as it's approved by ARB.
This plaza does not have a sign plan, so they can put up any kind of signs they want, correct?
Correct.
All right. Do they need any variances for this one?
Nope.
Okay. I guess is there not a second page to this? Does it have anything about lighting? Internal LED?
Yep.
Okay. Yeah. All right. I'm fine with this. Fran?
Yep, I'm fine. They obviously don't have any branding, I would have thought. But that's not for me to say. It's fine.
It tells you exactly what they have. They have Pet Supplies Plus.
Plus what?
That I don't know. I don't know what the plus is. Yeah.
If you have to ask Mary, it's not for you.
It says supplies, isn't that pretty inclusive? It's redundant, but whatever.
All right, Mary, what do you think of the sign?
Oh, it's just ducky, thank you.
Okay, great. I'm going to take that as a yes. Brian,
Pet supplies plus Chinese food plus hardware plus, I'm fine with it.
great. Casey,
I am fine with it.
excellent. Chris,
You can't mix pet supplies and Chinese food in the same business, Brian.
It's America, you can do anything.
So this sign, I can tell you the branding. I think there's one of these on Monroe. I drive past on my way to work, and it's consistent with their brand. Looks great, very legible. I'm good with it.
yeah. All right, I think you can put that one down as approved, Jeff.
Good.
All right, excellent. All right, how is everybody holding up here at 7:05?
Good.
Everybody good?
Good.
Can I propose 5 minutes? I want to leave for 5 minutes just to walk to the end of my building, and then I'll be back to do things.
I will take 5 minutes.
All right, 5 minutes. We're all good with that?
Yep.
Yes.
Yes.
5
Yeah.
minutes. Great. Thank you.
Gotta pee and get more water. What? Okay, thanks. Mando. That's Sylvester Stallone. What'd you say about Alyssa Milano? Because she's hot. Oh. I've never seen this movie, so. No, I've never seen Milano.
All right. We can take 5 minutes off. And Casey, Chris, and Brian all left for a moment. Hey, I thought Brian was going to bring virtual ales to this meeting, wasn't he?
Very, very annoying, that noise, whatever it is that you're dragging around there.
I muted him.
Okay.
Who was it?
Brian.
Oh, that's probably drinking a virtual beer right now without us.
I knew this would happen if somebody took a break. Everyone's gone now.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hold it anymore. I was trying to get through those last. That's why I was kind of thinking.
This is we are still streaming to YouTube, so this is. Just want to put that up.
We're still public?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, thanks for the break. I enjoyed getting a quick snack.
Right. I guess what we could do, though, is we could actually start our conversation here on the first application. Chris hopefully will join us here in just a moment. So if we go back to 3AR-1-20, which is Matashio Orthodontics. I guess my first commentary is I like the architecture. I just don't know how it fits in with the remainder of the plaza, unfortunately. And they were in just a few years ago, and they changed the coloration of the upper fascia, and they also then changed the color of all of the I've just blanked on the name, the awnings, if I'm not mistaken.
I don't remember this ever coming in before. Like, when was it?
It was several years ago.
Yeah.
I definitely remember it coming in.
Was I on the board?
You know, I don't know whether or not you were on the board or not, Casey. But they had come in with because they had changed the wood siding that they had, like he's showing on the north elevation. They changed it to panels, to aluminum panels.
Well, we went through a big deal about how to maintain the integrity of what's considered a vintage piece of architecture.
Right.
Now, I think the question here isn't whether we like this or not, because it's kind of like a core lifestyle building, and so it relates to that, if anything. But and we also had a lot of discussion with the neighborhood about that, and it wasn't particularly liked by a lot of the neighbors. I think it's a question of, you know, apart from the mention by the architects that the owner of the structure is open to changing the style of the whole commons, I think the question is, do we value the commons, the style of the commons the way it is now, and we consider it a historical, you know, artifact, or do we have any right to insist that it remain that way? So there are a couple of values questions here, apart from whether we like the way this looks or not, you know, to flag off of what you're saying, Andrew.
Right.
So that's the question for me. I could say, yeah, let's approve it, but there's a bigger question here, which is a question for the community. And also, we don't have any written statement from the owner that, yeah, let's just have everybody do what they want, and it'll look like one of those faux postmodern, you know, conglomerations of every different type of building all connected to one another. So that's my only comment.
Okay. Fran, do you have any input, comments on this at this point?
No, but I do really appreciate what Mary said, and that it's, you know, that's an important thing to understand what the existing plaza means. And it's on its own architecturally, I have no issue with it, but I'd like to understand more what the commons means to the community.
Okay. Brian, anything further from your point? You're muted.
Am I?
You were. Now you are. You're good now.
Oh, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I really like the way that it looks. I think part of the issue is that it is so dissimilar from everything else around it. It does look a lot like Core Life. It's that same style. We went through that. We went through the approval stage with Core Life and the people that were against it. In terms of it not looking brick and not looking like something that should be in Brighton. So I guess that is the question when we talk about value is if we do go ahead and say this looks fine, one, it's no longer really part of the plaza. It's almost like an anchor store to everything else. So it doesn't feel cohesive with everything else. So that's really the question is it's not just changing one storefront. It's changing a third of the building to look like something that wasn't meant to be there. So I don't know how we go forward with that because I think the majority of us are in agreement that it looks fine, but does it look fine with what's there? And I guess that's the problem. So I don't know how we address that.
Okay. Casey?
I think they didn't try at all to tie in. I think there could have been a better way, even if you wanted to be different and modernize one end of the building. They should have at least paid attention to the other buildings in that area and at least tried to relate to them. I just brought up Core Life just to kind of see some images, and other than the wood, it's not even the same wood tie-in. I mean, I think Core Life used more materials and were a little bit more deliberate about how they used them as opposed to just this gray box. And then your other building that we've got going on, that's all brick, and a few of them have tied in some of that wood look in the peaks. But I guess I'm totally not on board with it just because it's like they're not even trying.
Right.
You know, dropped in this modern gray box that has nothing to do with any building in that plaza, let alone the one that it's attached to.
Chris, any other comments from you, your position on this?
I think I'm right in line with what everyone else is saying here, and that's part of the reason why I asked questions about could this be something that was precedent setting for the plaza, and even if the answer was, oh yeah, it totally is. I mean, we don't have any guarantee or commitment to that. I mean, so really, even looking at it as if it were a part of a master plan, I'm not sure how valid that is on its own. I think actually the elevation that we're looking at right now that has the wood added makes it look even more schizophrenic than the rendering, which at least just had a very simple portico as a very simple volume there. Yeah, on the end of this building. So I think it's on its own a little messy in the context of the plaza. And really, I echo that without understanding if this is really a direction they want to go with the plaza and transform it, and they just want to do it in a phased approach, that's one thing. But on its own, I agree. I don't think it really works.
Yeah, and I just to echo that comment, I do not like the addition of the wood panel over the elevation that they would like to propose. I agree. It makes it look a little bit more confusing. From a massing standpoint, I think this gray mass is a better, makes a better statement, if you will, and limiting the amount of the wood-like aluminum makes a little bit more sense. I'm also in agreement. I don't know how this ties in with the remainder of that building. All of that being said, I guess I might suggest, my suggestion would be that we would table this application for them to come back to potentially provide a little bit greater insight on how this does match in with the existing structure, how it matches into the overall scheme of the plaza, because the plaza hasn't changed. All the remaining buildings are brick with red awnings and have the darker brown top to it. To Casey's point, is there a way to mesh something new in here that still carries through some of the thematic characteristics that we have in the plaza? I'd open up my commentary to anybody for agreement or disagreement.
I'd just like to add a couple things. First of all, we don't know what the position is on the signage requirement. I mean, we've got everybody else, every other store in that complex has uniform signage as far as I know. The other thing is, what about the future? What if this guy leaves and somebody else comes in? And then what happens? So we're just opening the floodgates to total lack of control over what this architecture is. If I were going to, I think you have an idea there with the tabling. I think what I would require of this client or this applicant is that they provide evidence that this is not important. It's not important to the public that this complex remain the way it is. And the only way to do that is to survey the public. And they have to come up with a way to do that that's credible to us. I don't see any other way around this because there's a bigger question here that has to be resolved. It's not just a question of them turning the gray into maroon. You know, at least from my point of view. I think there's a bigger question.
I would question how precious this plaza really is. I mean, I go there, I go to the Abbott's, and it's nothing special, right? So I don't think it's so much an issue of querying the public. We represent the public, right? That's why we're here, and so that's I think that's fine to be left to our judgment. But I do agree that if there. We don't want to open up and allow a lot of schizophrenia to take over here into what is a unified piece of architectural expression.
I don't particularly love it either. I'm not talking about myself, and we aren't representing, we are providing a service because we're appointed, but we haven't been elected by the public. So I wouldn't go too far in saying that we represent the public. And, you know, the public might have terrible taste, but, you know, I mean, it's our town. That's the center of our town.
Well, it is at 12 corners, so that makes it a little bit more evident, if you will. Fran, thoughts on tabling and why, and kind of the position you have?
Yeah, I think at the very least, they need to explain or make more effort to tie in and give some rationale behind it. Other than, you know, like Brian said, it does look like an anchor to this plaza, which changes it. So I'd like to see some more discussion and maybe better effort of tying it in.
Okay. Casey, did you already comment?
Yes, I already commented, but I agree in tabling. And I think I almost I wouldn't even ask them for an explanation. I more want to see them work harder and actually try to tie this into its surroundings.
You know, one comment that he made is that the owner really likes it. He likes the direction. I think part of the problem is that if they're going to do something like that and not tie the rest of these elements in that are already existing, then they should be looking at the entire plaza with respect to what they've done. Exactly. And if they're not going to do that, which they haven't done here, I think that's part of the sticking point that we're having is that they didn't do that exercise. So if the owner really likes it, I think that's something that they need to explore. Either take those elements that already exist and somehow work them in, or get rid of them completely with something that works for the entire plaza.
Yeah, like a succession plan for all the other stores that they would go.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yep.
I agree. And it's very similar to what they did at, Otter Lodge. I mean, it was all about the one anchor tenant, but at least they tied in some improvements across the entire, the length of the plaza to tie it in.
Yep.
Yeah, and I think we have to be a little bit careful about forcing them to go down a road where they're now all of a sudden having to look at the entire plaza and come up with a design for the entire plaza. I don't think we can say that necessarily. I think what we can say, and they need to either tie this in, give them an either or, and they either need to tie this in a little bit better to show how it relates to the remainder of the plaza and why it is not dissimilar, and or show us what the ultimate goal of the entire plaza may be. The challenge is, as Mary said, we can't tie them to that, and they might not be tied to that either. It is dissimilar, and I agree. So if we're all in agreement to table this, we've got to come up with some language of why we're tabling, right?
I think the first thing is that it is accessibly dissimilar to everything around it.
Okay.
That's the first thing.
So Jeff, can we start with that? I think we're all in agreement to table this application at this point. And we're tabling it on the basis that it is substantially different. Substantially different than the remainder of the plaza.
Okay. Then we can say then we can.
Mute yourself, Mary.
Then I guess we could also say that the next thing to say would be we'd like clarification on the owner's intentions about the redevelopment of the rest of the commons in order to make it coherent in the future.
That's one of the pieces, right? Again,
right. I'm saying the next thing I would say is, we don't have any knowledge of the owner's intentions regarding the aesthetic development of the rest of the commons.
Maybe we need further clarification of what the owner intends for the remainder of the plaza.
Exactly.
Okay.
And I like how Andy put it, where, option one, work with what you've got and tie it in, or option two, tell us what the future plan is.
Right. And then condition three would be, will there be standards and what are they?
Right.
Because this will set standards if there aren't any. So they may as well think it through, and the standards should be applicable to all the stores, all the units.
I think another thing that might be, and I realize we're going off these couple photos. Yes, we've been to the site, but if they could potentially provide us with a couple other view sheds showing this from a few different vantage points. I mean, this one that's up on the screen, oh, that's beautiful. You hardly see what's going on with the remainder of the plaza, but what does it really look like as you're looking in the other direction, where you see the massing of all of that red awning and the brown and the brick coloration to this thing?
Side by side, yeah.
Yeah, the other side. So they may be able to provide us that in input. Okay, so Jeff, yeah, I think
I have substantially different from the rest of the plaza and further clarification on what the owner intends for the rest of the plaza.
And then the other one would be, or show how this architecture or the proposed architecture can tie into the existing architecture.
Okay.
And I may not have said that very well. Somebody want to wordsmith me, please?
I'm not good at wordsmithing.
That was a cop-out.
Yeah, you said it well the first time. It's recorded. Jeff can go back.
All right.
Wait, are we recording this?
Yeah.
That's in the top left corner.
Yes, sir.
Oh, I see it's a live stream, but
it's also recording.
So really
We're being posted live to the interwebs.
Yeah. So, Jeff, could you just read back what you have, and let's see if we can add to this appropriately.
Okay. Substantially, it's tabled for substantially different from the rest of the plaza. Looking for further clarification on what the owner intends for the rest of the plaza, or show how proposed architecture can tie into existing architecture.
Anybody else have anything to add and or to clarify based on that?
I would use the term commons instead of plaza, because it refers to the building and the units in the building rather than the whole space in the buildings all around.
Got it. Thank you.
So did you say clarification on the owner's intentions regarding the redevelopment, the future redevelopment of the commons?
I didn't say it that way, but I can.
And then I think we need to see a side-by-side view and also an updated, actual version of what this is going to look like side-by-side with the existing, so that we can see if they even bothered aligning things.
So where the two meet?
Views that show the building in more clearly in context.
Okay.
so do we not get that from the elevation drawings though?
No, because the elevation drawings really just show a very, very small portion of the plaza.
Their whole policy in presenting this, have us just look at their building. That's the way they've done this presentation, so that we just look at their building. Sorry about that.
Yeah,
there are no views. There are no views from, like, if I'm standing at Abbott's and looking at this building, there's no views of that. There's no views closer up. I mean, we don't really have a good sense of what this is.
I think we're pretty clear. Either, make it work with what's there, or tell us how everything else is going to work with you. That's basically what we're telling them, right?
Yes.
I mean, I would say though that when you look at the elevation drawing, the south elevation, you can see that they've aligned the top of their openings with the bottom of the awnings. So there's an intent to at least pick up on what little bit of regulating lines, or what the strongest regulating line might be in the plaza.
Yeah, I guess I was using alignment as a joke, but you're right.
Yeah, but they also awkwardly popped up the wall by all of 8 inches. So they're trying to provide hierarchy, or can they just not tie in their flashing?
Well, yeah, that's just it. I mean, why make the parapet taller? I mean,
or
why do that?
It's a context issue. We always run into this, and I think that they did not do a good enough job on this for us to let it go through.
Okay, is everybody comfortable with the way we have the terminology and what we're saying?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. All right, Jeff, if you have questions as you kind of finalize that, you can reach out to me and or I'm sure anybody, but to kind of clarify the verbiage here. Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Okay, so we tabled that. We're all in agreement. Let's go to the next one, please. This was the change of the roof line is the only thing we're looking at.
Approved as presented.
I hear an approved as presented. Anybody want to second that one?
I second it.
I was good
I
with that.
third.
Chris?
I'm good.
Okay. I'm fine with this as well. It's interesting though, just I'm going to ask a question. The covered porch and the roof of the covered porch, that would never have come to us?
If it was on its own, it wouldn't have because it was behind the building.
Yeah.
You can't see it from the front of the house.
But it came in with this, just like we look at all the other improvements. We don't not to suggest I want to look at something more. I'm curious on why we wouldn't look at the new covered porch area.
They're just showing it to be complete.
So I mean, I look at it the same way as a front door, right? If somebody wants to paint their front door, they don't need to go to ARB, but if it's part of a broader project, then we absolutely can comment on the color.
That's true.
So anyway, the only thing that we're approving though is the roof line on the proposed north elevation.
And the side window, technically, right?
Yeah.
Oh, in the 100 series or equivalent window. Yes, correct.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Otherwise, I'm good with that too. Okay. All right. Next, please.
Our federal style overhang. Not.
Yeah. I'm gonna make this statement pretty quickly, and let's see how everybody agrees or disagrees. I think we should table this application for further information because we need to know what the true intent of this structure is going to be, the true intent of the connection to the house, especially with that 4x4 diagonal support. The distance from the roof line up to the window that's directly above it. And then I think it's as a suggestion to him is to research and look at other overhangs from a federal style that may be more appropriate for this architect.
Agreed.
Sounds good.
I think one thing that I would personally want to put in writing is that the next set of drawings should include, at the very minimum, the front door all the way up to, the window above, and get some dimensions on it. Because without context, I don't know how wide their door is, and with all the trim work. And I think we need that to make sure it fits, and they need that. That's their problem too, is that they have no clue how this is going to fit around their door and the trim.
Yeah, I think it's a little naive for them to think, well, the contractor will just make it look good, right?
Well, the contractor doesn't know what he's doing, obviously, and I'm assuming it's a him. It could be a woman. But I think that he learned something tonight, the owner, and he was open to learning more about what is appropriate for this. So I think we are saying here that we want something. We want more detailed and appropriate, detailed information and appropriate style.
Right. I think it's in everybody's interest, frankly, to get it. So I agree with what's been said.
Well, in terms of, I was going to say, in terms of interest too, I think, Chris, you mentioned the covered, can you mention the driveway, the covered driveway?
Yeah, it was like that carport thing sticking out. And I thought, hey, at least in that picture, it didn't look all that bad and maybe you could tie together. But even as I was saying that, I'm like, yeah, you don't want a detached carport influencing the detailing on the house, right? I think what Mary brought to the conversation was much more of the compelling factor to make sure that the Federalist style of the house and the detailing around the door was thought through completely, So.
Yeah, I think the right angled brackets that were coming off the carport could have been something that they picked up the detail on for those diagonal supports, which really should be brackets, not just to support. I mean, just based on how they're drawing them. But they could have pulled that detail in at least with something, you know, historical. But again, this drawing doesn't really represent much of anything. So
Yeah, and I think that the carport would be the tail wagging the dog. You got to stick to the style of the house.
Right, even if you were gonna do
Think
just a
that through
regular
thoroughly.
brace, yeah, it would still have a horizontal and a vertical piece that they didn't even show here, even if you were just gonna do a simple brace like that. You could also beam it right into the house. You know, there's,
right.
or have a flat roof with columns, which would be the most appropriate, but you know, that might be too expensive. So, but anyway, I think we just need to table it. I mean, I agree with that, at least. I don't know.
Jeff, I saw you writing. What did you put down thus far?
I said table for more information, including the true intention of the connection to the house, the height in relation to the above window, explore options matching the style of the house, and provide more context for the awning, including the door and the window above it.
I would say explore options relative to the federal style of the house. That way, if he looks anything up, he'll know what word to use.
Okay.
What about light detail?
Yeah, that's a good point. I was going to say that as well, is provide us a light detail or the intent of the light. You know, if he hangs a light in that area and it's a glass fixture, then everybody's going to be blinded as they walk up to that.
Okay.
Yeah.
And Andrew, I'm surprised you didn't ask about the gutters.
I thought we were giving them hard enough time as it was, so I did.
Good.
Yeah, I think we're good on that, right, everyone? Yes?
Yeah. Yes.
All right. Move on to the next, please. Well.
Sort of roof,
So much roof.
very big roof.
It's a roof with a house attached to it.
The house.
You know, the house that's next to this one, the one that's, let's just say 10 years old, actually has a pretty decent sized roof on it, very similar to this.
Mm-hmm.
So it didn't bother me, the roof mass, only because the one that's next to this has a very similar roof. But that was just my take on it.
Yeah. You can't see that house from the street. It's so far back.
If you go on, if you go on the street view, you can see it.
Well, I went down the street and I stopped in that circle, but it's set so far back and it's actually, you only see the side of it.
Yeah.
You just
Even
know
from
it's
the side.
mansion back there.
Even from the side, though, it kind of looks proportionally similar to this.
Yeah, I was looking at it earlier. I don't have an issue with the scale of the home with the next door neighbor necessarily.
I think this house is going to change the neighborhood, but I really don't see how we can refute this project. That's kind of my feeling. It's going to change the neighborhood, and they're taking trees down, they're putting in a bigger house, and the style's different. So we got to bite the bullet on this one, I think.
So, I mean, the question would be, is it going to change it for the better, or is it going to have a deleterious effect, right? And I'm scared of this one because I know that a lot of times these big roofs, they appear bigger in an elevation than they actually appear on site. But I mean, this is a very deep square sort of floor plan that forces that ridge line up. And you think about the larger ranch style homes around Brighton, they're more stretched out and thin so that you don't get these enormous roof ridge heights.
It's a result of
plan. It's pretty much a giant square.
Yeah,
right?
but they don't want to do any variances. They don't want to get variances.
Well, I mean,
no, I'm just saying there's a reason for it. They don't want the footprint to exceed the allowable.
Right, but they also don't need a 12-12.
I get it, but then it becomes kind of a self-imposed issue. But I think really getting back to the question is this going to have a negative impact on the rest of the houses on that street? I mean, the rest of it, I think, is done very well. It's just the mass of the house and the roof line. And I don't know what you can do differently with it other than to do, like, you know, a little sleight of hand by lopping the ridge down, and then you end up with a flat piece of roof on top, right? We used to do that with our collegiate Gothic residence halls that started to get obscene ridge heights. We would just flatten it out, and to your eye, you would never know the difference. But that's not common for single family residential construction.
Why can't you change the roof pitch? Why does it have to be a 12-12?
12-12 and 12-8. I mean, they could really probably make some slight adjustments just in the construction of the roof, and it would make all the difference.
Right. I mean, it's a very, very large attic space here that they're proposing. For what purpose? I don't understand.
It's higher
It's
than
picking
the
up on
first
the
floor of
gable
the house.
proportions that they want. Like, especially about that front elevation, they've got all those gables that, you know, those would start to look squat if you took the whole roof down. But I mean, I don't know if it's worth, I don't know what sort of result we would get if we said, can you look at reducing the roof?
Yeah.
But, and maybe I'm the only one that feels that the roof is pretty significant feature here.
What about the right elevation where the roof kind of gets cut, if you will?
Yeah, it starts to approach a 2-story house at that point.
I mean, like that weird inside corner, it's, I don't know any architect that would do that.
Well, we can hope they'll plant some large trees. I don't think the other people in the neighborhood are going to be happy with it, but this is the way, this is the current civilization.
I think that's kind of the point, though.
When I was driving down the road, was it's just there are large houses there. I mean, they're not cute, they're not all cute and quaint, but there's this different scale to them. And there are some very long houses, but again, the roof isn't 1.25 times the depth of their, you know, the height of their first floor. I just don't think it's fitting within this neighborhood.
Both? Andrew?
I don't know, because I can see it both ways. I don't think it's dissimilar than other homes that we've approved in the past, albeit not exactly in this neighborhood, but we've approved things of this nature. So I think the style of the home is consistent with other homes that we've approved. So why would we say no to that in this particular instance? The roof, I don't have that big of a concern with the roof from the front elevation standpoint. I have an issue with the right elevation with that cutout area, as Casey pointed out. I don't understand what is going on there. And there must be some other way to finish that looks a little bit more finished from a typical home style. I don't believe I've ever seen anything like that before either.
Can we see where everybody is on this in the interest of time?
I'm of the mind to table it for a few revisions. Fran?
I would like to see a lower roof if we feel we can ask them to do that, but definitely that right elevation is weird. And if you're building a house, especially a house this size, there's no reason to have an odd detail like that. It needs to be finished differently.
Mary, your thoughts?
I'm gonna go along with the flow here. I would have thought this one would go through. Not that I personally like it, but it just seems like something that would have been approved, but.
Brian?
I'm fine with it as is, so.
Okay. Casey?
I would vote for tabling.
Chris?
Yeah, I vote for table, and I'll share too. There was a really square house that got built off of Landing Road. This was several years ago. I just looked up where it is. It's on Avon Road. I don't know if you remember this. The owner came in and he's basically saying, this is the most efficient way to build a house. It's a giant square. It's really simple. And the thing got built and the neighbors were really disappointed that we as a board had allowed that to happen, that it really didn't turn out well. So I know that we've approved things of this kind in the past, and that one case in particular, I think was a mistake. And I don't want to repeat a mistake like that.
Okay, let's table this application and let's talk about what we're going to suggest.
Excuse me, Andy, could you just check and see how many votes you have for tabling, and are those enough?
Okay, thumbs up for tabling. We've got 4, and Brian was going to approve, and Mary, you were.
Yeah.
Okay. So I think we're at the point where we would table this application. And I guess the first thing is we need clarification on the right elevation of the home to further finalize and or revise the roof lines so that we don't have that abrupt 90-degree corner.
Andrew, if I may, I think the first issue is the overall mass of the roof. I wouldn't want to lead with this shark bite that's out of that right side.
Okay,
but really the issue is the mass of this roof is huge.
Okay, fair enough.
And when do we have right and left elevations? Don't people know the cardinal directions anymore? What the heck? Right and left. Oh my God.
It probably came from somebody's book of houses. Their typical detail.
It sounded like this was pretty custom to the site that they were talking about it, but anyway.
Anyway, I agree with what Chris said. Start with the roof and then do the funky.
To explore options to reduce mass of the roof.
Can we also suggest explore options to reduce the height of the roof?
Or the visual mass is what we're going for here, right?
Yeah, I'd be careful with that wording, Mary. I know what you're saying, and I know what a knee-jerk reaction might be, which is to litter it with pasties. So how many square feet did they say this house was?
25, 25, 21.
No, that plus the garage, it comes up to 32.
Okay.
32 and change.
Yeah.
It's a 3-car garage.
And the only reason I bring that up is I know that there are, just anecdotally, seeing some houses around town and then looking when they go on sale or whatever, and I get surprised by the square footage. It's like, wow, I had no idea that house is that big. This one doesn't give you that impression.
I think they have a couple of bedrooms in the basement too. They've got rooms down there.
I'm sure they do. I don't think that counts in the square footage though. So.
No, but they've got a rec room and 2 bedrooms down there and bathroom.
The point is, around town, there are some very large one-story houses that have been done in a way that they don't overpower the neighborhood.
Well, do you have your language then?
Yeah, Jeff, what do you have thus far, please?
I just had explore options to reduce mass and height of the roof.
Okay. And then I think a secondary is going to be reconfigure or resolve the right elevation of the structure.
Can we see that, please?
I think we need to be specific about what we're talking about.
Yes, that's what I think we need to do.
Specifically the 90-degree corner.
The 90-degree inside corner.
Almost like a cutout.
Yeah.
It does, and it doesn't occur anywhere else around the house. The eave lines have a little bit of variance, but nothing quite like that.
So reconfigure or resolve right elevation, specifically the 90-degree inside corner.
Yeah.
On the shingled area to the right of the garage. On the clapboard, what is it?
I thought what Jeff said was summed it up.
Yeah, I thought so too. I don't think you need to add any more than that.
They might not know what you're talking about because.
I feel like you have to say roof.
Okay.
Somewhere in that sentence.
Yeah, I think it's missing something that'll drive it home to them. They'll say, well, this is an elevation, it always looks weird. You're gonna look at it in 3 dimensions, so.
What makes it even more difficult too is that the neighboring property is looking at the garage from their property. And so they're going to see this cutout area and that mass of siding going up at the end of the garage.
Would you maybe consider saying right/rear elevation? Because technically, like
It's
you just
the right elevation.
You still have that.
Why don't you just call it page 2, right elevation?
Yeah.
Right? Do we need any further clarification to that? Because that's exactly what that is.
Yeah, that's fine, I think. It gives it a little more precision.
You could even call it page 1 rear elevation as well, because that cutout shows up there as well.
Okay. Do you want to specify the roof in that, or is that all right just saying the inside corner?
Well, you could, if you needed to, you could note that, particularly the irregular eave lines.
Okay. Anything else for that one?
We did have a question about the window heights on page 2, left elevation, clarification of the window heights.
Yeah. That was mine. And they have dimensions on some of them, but
You could just say adjust alignment of windows on left elevation.
Well, in particular, I mean, when you draw a straight line across there, I mean, one of the issues is that the back bedroom windows don't align with the front. And I think that's a drafting error. But they have intended, because they dimensioned it, that the windows in the bathroom, at least 2 of them, are 8 inches higher than the windows in the bedrooms.
Right.
And I mean, I would just say, just pick a window head elevation and stick with it all the way across that facade. So the way to do that would be to say align heads of all windows on left elevation, first floor.
Sounds good.
Yep, agree.
Yep.
Okay, got it.
Okay. I'm just looking at this thing and saying you can squat that roof down like whatever.
I don't know, because it would, if you do the squatty gables too, Andrew, I think the gables then would start to look
But if you did
like a cop out, and then
if
you've got conflicting roof angles. I don't know. I'd have to see it, but I don't know if that's the silver bullet here.
I would too, but
figure it out, guys.
Yep. That's fine. Okay. I think we're good on that, correct? Let's move on to the next, please. This is the Pinnacle Hills home, Jeff Smith.
Needs windows or a window to the garage.
You want it aligned with the top of the garage door on the front? You want the head of the window?
I would.
Are there any? No, there are lights on the garage doors. Yeah.
I mean, we're talking about the left side elevation, correct?
Yeah.
And we're adding a window.
It's fine with adding a garage window.
Add window to garage on left elevation. And do we want to specify the position? That's what I was asking. Okay.
I don't feel the need to.
I don't feel the need to either.
He lined up all the windows everywhere else. I'm sure he'll do a good job.
Famous last words. I would, but that's all
I
right.
think then we're designing it, and that's something we don't want to do.
I would, yeah.
Okay, that's good.
All right, I suggest that we approve this with conditions.
That's what we're doing, right?
Yes, agree.
Second, third.
Fourth,
Everybody
fifth.
in agreement?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so Jeff will approve this with the condition. We add the window in the garage, left side elevation.
Yep, got it.
I think Jeff has learned over the years coming to us what to do. It's too bad it's his last home. All right, next.
West Henrietta.
New brick. So I'm of the mind to approve this based upon our conversation today. The conditions that I would suggest we place on it would be to follow the manufacturer's recommendations for placing the brick on concrete pavements. And I guess that was the big one. That's where I stand. I hear anybody else say anything different.
No,
I think that sounds
we
good.
did more research, detailed, which is good.
I still don't buy it, but I also recognize that this plaza sits way off the road. And I still think they're gonna get beat up, but I don't think it's really gonna have a a deleterious effect to anyone around it. I mean, they're near a movie theater and way back on a parking lot. So it's more of a white flag than an approval.
I agree.
Mary?
Try to imagine how little I care. Go ahead.
Okay.
As
Jeff,
soon as
you
they say
have,
cheapest, I start foaming at the mouth.
you have
Approve of conditions, follow manufacturer's recommendations for brick on concrete pavement.
As discussed.
Or in snowy climates, because it's up 2 inches higher as in snowy climates. Don't forget.
Yep.
Okay. Next.
Limo Drive.
All right, so there's a new plan in town, correct? There's a new plan that's being sent that on that west elevation, it is not shingled, it is not sloped, it is vertical and it has siding in it.
Do you
Correct,
have that
Jeff?
plan, Jeff?
I doubt it. I'll check though. I do not.
All right. I'm a little incredulous that you're going to have room on that tiny little gable. If you make a gable out of that, so do your rake trims, do your flashings and everything else, and then get siding there. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know what to do since what they're asking us to approve, we don't have in front of us anyway.
Well, we also have the ability to table this for updated information and final drawings.
Could I suggest instead, I'm going to be presumptuous. I'm going to talk about this from my perspective, that I don't think that the siding works. I think the roof's the way to go, since the roof is what we have in front of us, that we work with this plan. And if they want to come back with a revised drawing, then they can do that. That's entirely up to them. But I think we need to hear from everybody else what they feel about that gable.
It's not a bad idea.
I like that idea too. It reduces the hardship on them and they can choose.
And he did say they were open to both if that was what was needed.
Right, they did say that, Jeff, you're right. So then, I mean, it gives them a pathway to just go if they want to go, and if they want to come back and show us something different, that's up to them.
So we're saying approve it as presented, and if they end up changing it, then they have to come back.
With regard to that, yeah, I think we still need to address Fran's observation on the asymmetrical back elevation.
Yeah, I'm not that hung up on it. It's, it's in the back and it works for them on the interior. So I wouldn't hold that up for that reason.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. It's not visible from the street and it's a functional choice.
Okay, I can go along with that too.
Do we have our lingo?
I said approve this presented with shingles on the front elevation. Any alternatives would need to reappear before the board.
Excelente.
Okay.
Sunset Strip is next.
All right.
I was fine with this one as presented.
Do they have to clarify the eve heights or?
I mean, I guess it would only be the right side elevation that has to be updated. Theoretically, they got the front one correct.
Can we just ask them to submit? I mean, they've got to do it with the building department anyway, right?
Yeah.
So let's just approve it and then.
Okay.
I'd go along with that.
Yeah, I would as well. I think that's fine.
So no language about the eve heights?
No.
No, I mean, in the document, it says they're gonna reframe the one eve height that's low anyway. So it's almost like, well, they've submitted that that is the case.
Okay.
The infill. I was good with this as presented. I don't have any issues with this. I guess the only condition to Casey's point was to align the windows in height from the existing to the proposed, or the height of the top of the window should be the same. Proposed.
Are you saying the two new windows? Because it would be it might be a bit high if you had to align it with the top of the picture window because it has a panel of smaller windows above the actual picture window.
Yeah, because it's almost like it's as high as the door.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We can't make them put the window up that high, I don't think.
You match the sill height?
That would work.
Okay, match the sill heights is fine.
Those are shrunk.
Could I just play devil's advocate? Because the other window is in a plane of brick. It's divided on the other side of the doorway. I mean, visually, I don't make that same connection. So I'm not sure if it's worth it, I guess is what I'm saying.
I was just trying to facilitate what somebody else requested. I think for me, it would be fine if it was aligned vertically with the one above.
Yeah, as long as it's centered on the one above, I don't see a value in having a head aligned, a sill aligned, or anything else. I mean, it's visually so separate, and the picture window is by virtue kind of a larger feature anyway.
And it looks like you'll now have 4 different windows in the front of the house instead of 3.
We could make them take the shutters off. Okay, I'm good with it then.
Yeah, that's fine.
Do we want the condition to align it with the window on the second floor?
I mean, they pretty much have it drawn that way.
Yeah, it's not that way. So
Yeah, as presented.
Great.
Next time, draw the whole house.
Draw the whole house.
I'm drawing the whole house.
Solar.
Loved it.
I'm good with the solar.
Okay.
Yeah, no issue here.
Jeff, the only thing to add to that is our typical comment about no conduits shall be visible from the front.
Yep, the appurtenances.
Yeah.
oh, I love the appurtenances.
Their appurtenances are hidden by the chimney in this case. I don't think we often see the inverter and disconnect on the outside of the house anymore, but I was okay with it since it's shielded by the chimney and the conduits won't be visible.
SWBR, Jewish Senior Life.
I'm good with it.
Good with it.
I'm fine with it as well. Any denies? Anybody say no? I believe you have approved as presented, Jeff.
Yep. And the last one.
Yeah, I had no further comments on this ramp.
I was also good with that one.
Yeah, this one's fine.
Did he specify the width of that ramp in the landing? He said it was big enough, but it's got to have at least 5 feet.
Right.
Well,
Oh,
they'll
that-
catch that in the code review too if he doesn't, right?
Patty's pretty good about checking that stuff.
Yeah, he'll get checked at I just don't like that drop there that somebody hand slips on their wheelchair. They're going down the stairs there. But that is not our problem, I guess. Go for it.
Approved?
Yeah, I
Approve.
Great. You guys are awesome. Thanks for sticking in there. This is a long one.
So what's the decision on the next meeting? The next meeting.
We won't need an extra meeting because we covered everything in this one.
Oh, awesome!
Yep. You guys are free for next week.
Nice job, everyone. Thank you so much for catching up.
Thanks for your assistance, Ramsey. Jeff.
Jeff, nice job.
Yeah.
All right.
Danny, thanks for taking the lead there.
Yep, not a problem.
Appreciate that.
All right, everybody.
You
Enjoy
guys
the
are
rest
great.
of the evening.
Buonanotte, buon appetito.
Whatever.
Bye,
Everyone.
everyone.
All right. Good night.
Bye-bye.
A bientôt.